Chapter 481 Spirit Light Child. The little provincial princess, however, did not pay attention to the show of achievement made by these four individuals. Her gaze was fixed solely on the spirit pond in the center of the grand hall, as if she was far more interested in it than the four youths. The demeanor of the little provincial princess made the four young men holding the spirit wind grass feel both embarrassed and somewhat disappointed as they stood there. It was the divine venerable Hong Zhu's words that broke the awkwardness of the four. Your adventure continues at Empire. All right, divine venerable Hong Zhu waved off the four. Give me the spirit wind grass, and I will pass it to the little provincial princess. The cultivation here will begin as soon as you join us. The four youths grinned and scratched their heads, then walked over to divine venerable Hong Zhu. Although they had felt slighted before the little provincial princess, upon rejoining the other martial artists, this quartet evidently possessed an aura that overwhelmed all the other participants who were prepared to enter the minor extreme sky cultivation. Even the more than 30 young people from the divine kingdoms, who had previously been quite dominant in front of lower realm martial artists, became exceedingly respectful in front of these four youths of apparent significant status. Next to Yi Chun, Fang Hua discreetly sent a message. Brother Yi Chun. These four young men should be the younger generation of the Zhao Meng Hu Tian, the four great generals under the East Territory King. Those four generals are among the most formidable in the divine venerable ranks, and their standing in the divine kingdom is extraordinarily high. The younger generation of the East Territory King's four generals? Yi Chun glanced at the four youths, noting that 3 of them were 15 years old, and the eldest was merely 16. However, all 4 of them were remarkably at the late stage of the rotating pill realm. Even the little Lolita princess, who was but 12 or 13, had already reached the early stage of the rotating pill realm. You should know, descendants of such esteemed divine kingdom figures would naturally place more emphasis on laying a solid foundation of cultivation, rather than rashly rushing to higher levels with an unstable base. Being able to reach the rotating pill realm or even its late stage at such a young age, on top of having such a fortified foundation, was indeed somewhat astonishing. Their combat abilities were likely far beyond the level of the rotating pill realm, possibly reaching the level of the heavenly saint or even possessing the might of true divine warriors. The younger generation of the true great figures in the divine kingdoms truly should not be underestimated. However, Yi Chun would not show them the same excessive reverence and submissiveness as other martial artists did. Although his background did not compare to theirs in the lower realm, he had used his own efforts to create one myth after another. At just 16 years of skeletal age, he was already at the mid-stage of the rotating pill realm, and his combat power had reached the late stage of heavenly saint. If it came to it, he was in no way inferior to the young descendants of these great divine kingdom figures. Even when considering progress, he was far ahead. After the four youths also entered the side hall, God King Wuzan, who was presiding over the first practice session, sought permission from divine venerable Hong Zhu, and then directly announced to everyone, "Since everyone is here now, let's begin the first cultivation session." Boom! At his proclamation, the attention of Yi Chun and the other 8,000+ martial artists from the lower realm, as well as the more than 30 young people from the divine kingdoms, shifted away from the newly arrived little provincial princess and the four young men, focusing entirely on God King Wuzan. Even the little provincial princess stopped her curious examination of the spirit pond in the center of the grand hall, turning to look towards God King Wuzan. After all, regardless of who it was or their status, cultivating in the minor extreme heavenly secret realm was what mattered most. God King Wuzan addressed the crowd, saying directly, "This first place of cultivation, the Infinity God Temple, is designed to improve everyone's physical body capabilities. Within the temple, there are 88 practice chambers of varying conditions. Some practice chambers can only be entered by one person for cultivation, while others allow for multiple people to cultivate at the same time. Given the limited number of chambers and the differing conditions of each, selecting a chamber will inevitably result in an order of precedence. Some will gain the advantage of choosing the most suitable chamber first, while others may end up with less favorable options. To ensure fairness, we must first test the essence, qi, and spirit the 3 vital life signs. Chambers will be selected in the order of your test scores. First test the essence, chi, and spirit, then choose a chamber based on the ranking of the scores. How is the test conducted? Many of the martial artists from the lower realm looked towards God King Wutsan with curiosity. But those young people from the Divine Kingdom, as well as the little provincial princess and the 4 youths, all turned their attention to the spirit pond in the center of the grand hall, the very pond the little provincial princess had been observing all this time. From their expressions, it was clear that this spirit pond had something to do with the testing of the 3 vital life signs of essence, chi, and spirit. As expected, when the attention of the little provincial princess and others turned to it, God King Wutsan approached the pond, 100 yards in diameter and simmering with surging aura, at the center of the great hall. God King Wutsan pointed directly at the pond and explained, as the little provincial princess mentioned earlier, this pond is called the Spirit Light God Pond. The spiritual light within can test everyone's essence, chi, and spirit potentials, and their current cultivational state. Ultimately, based on your condition, a spirit light child will be born from the convergence of spiritual light in the pond. The stronger your 3 vital life signs are, the more precious the spirit light child that appears will be. The preciousness of the spirit light child that emerges will determine your test score. Those with higher scores will have the precedence to choose a practice chamber. Of course, the spirit light child doesn't just represent the hierarchy of your scores. It will also accompany you throughout your cultivation in the minor extreme heavenly secret realm, informing you about various cultivation matters in the secret realm. It will stay with you until your cultivation period ends, and if you fail the assessment and cannot advance to the next cultivation area, the spirit light child will then dissipate. Spirit light child. The child formed by the convergence of spiritual light that can accompany cultivators and even answer various questions about secret cultivation places. How magical! Upon hearing God King Wutsan's words, a group of martial artists, including the little provincial princess and other youngsters from the Divine Kingdom who had heard of the Spirit Light God Pool, all felt a sense of novelty. Although they had heard of the Spirit Light God Pool and the Spirit Light Child, they had never personally entered the Spirit Pool to try it out. Next, I will give everyone a demonstration. Speaking of the Spirit Light Child's rank, as long as one cultivates the 3 major life signs of essence, chi, and spirit to the level of perfect heaven saint, one can directly convene the highest level Spirit Light Child with 88 stars. Just by entering the Spirit Light God Pool, once the spiritual light envelopes your entire body, you can begin to convene the Spirit Light Child. As he spoke, God King Wutsan took a step and stepped into the Spirit Light God Pool. Instantly, aura light steamed up in the spirit pool and surged towards God King Wutsan. Seeing God King Wutsan's demonstration, everyone crowded around the Spirit Light God Pool, and Yi-chun was also curious to see what the Spirit Light Child gathered by the God King would look like. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As God King Wutsan entered the Spirit Light God Pool, a purple glow immediately congregated in front of him. This purple clump is the test of the essence body sign among God King Wutsan's 3 major life signs, testing the physical body's ability. God King Wutsan is already at the God King realm, and he has long cultivated the 3 major life signs to the perfect heaven saint level. His purple clump is probably also at the perfect physical body level. Knowing the matters of the Spirit Light Child, the little provincial princess looked at God King Wutsan with lively eyes and murmured. As she finished speaking, the purple clump in front of God King Wutsan grew larger and larger until it reached the size of a head and stopped. Then, in the chaotic rush of spiritual light, another clump, this time a green one, began to solidify. This is the clump testing the chi body sign, evaluating the Divine King's true chi ability, said a youngster from the Divine Kingdom. Similarly, this green clump eventually grew to the size of a head. Finally, the third clump, the Divine Body Sign, testing the Divine Soul's ability, a blue clump, also began to form in front of God King Wutsan. In the end, it too solidified to the size of a head. After the purple, green, blue 3 clumps all took shape, they collided with a fierce crash and burst open with a bang, out of which jumped a palm-sized child with hair hanging down to its shoulders. The child wearing a fiery red tiny garment, with a head full of fiery red hair, and carrying a small spiritual ruler on its back, immediately leapt onto God King Wutsan's shoulder upon appearance, and with a little open mouth addressed Wutsan. Spirit Light Child 88 greets Master. Master, I will accompany you in cultivation here. God King Wutsan patted the little spirit child on his shoulder and turned to the martial artists who were still in shock, saying with a smile, "This is the Spirit Light Child. It calls itself 88, which means that it is a spirit child of 88 stars." Boom! As God King Wutsan finished speaking, the martial artists from the lower realm, more than 30 young people from the Divine Kingdom, and even the little provincial princess and 4 young boys, all opened their mouths wide in astonishment. This palm-sized little spirit child was too lively, too mystical. "All right, I've finished the demonstration. Now it's your turn to undergo the test," God King Wutsan said, flying out of the spirit light god pool. He whispered something to the little spirit child on his shoulder, and with a swoosh, the child leapt into the spirit light god pool and disappeared from sight again. Begin the test. The results of the test will determine the rank of the spirit light child that appears, as well as the selection order for the 88 secret chambers in this first cultivation site. Thinking of this, all the martial artists who were about to participate in the test became somewhat excited. At that moment, a bold girl in red from the lower realm was the first to stand out. "I'll test first, just to give it a try." Seeing that no one competed with her, the girl in red directly jumped into the spirit light god pool. Just like God King Wutsan, as the girl entered, the aura light in the spirit light god pool surged towards her. However, unlike God King Wutsan, whose purple, green, and blue life sign orbs were the size of a head, this girl obviously did not have the same ability as God King Wutsan. The purple and blue orbs the girl gathered were only the size of a fingertip, pointing to the Chi life sign. The green orb was about the size of a peach pit. In the end, when the 3 orbs came together, a palm-sized little girl wearing an ice blue garment, with a head full of ice blue hair, also carrying a small spiritual ruler, jumped out directly and landed on the girl in red's shoulder. The little girl said in a tender voice, "Spirit Light Child, Chi, greets Master." Chapter 482, Test. The Spirit Light Child formed by the red-clad girl's gathering of spiritual light was at the level of a 7 stars Spirit Light Child. Compared to the strongest 88 stars Spirit Light Child that God King Wutsan had demonstrated earlier, this one was significantly weaker. Looking at the little girl, one could feel that this Spirit Light Child indeed lacked the marvelousness of the Spirit Light Child that the previous God King had formed. However, upon seeing the red-clad girl's 7 stars Spirit Light Child, God King Wutsan, God King Lei Yun, and Divine Venerable Hongzhu all nodded in approval. This girl, coming from the lower realm and merely at the late stage of the Spirit Sea realm, has yet to cultivate the 3 major vital signs of life, Jing, essence, Qi, energy, and Shun, spirit, to a profound degree. Being able to form a 7 stars Spirit Light Child is already quite commendable. Moreover, her potential in true Qi cultivation is very strong. During the test, her true Qi energy sphere was clearly much larger than the other 2 spheres. The ability to form a 7 stars child, with true Qi being a major contributing factor among the 3 vital signs, played a large role. With future cultivation focusing on true Qi, she will have great prospects, and compensating for the other 2 paths will cause her strength to surge dramatically. The 3 powerhouses praised her while the surrounding martial artists all inhaled sharply. 88 stars is the highest level. This girl received 7 stars, and that's considered quite good. Doesn't that mean that others might score even lower than 7 stars? But then again, considering the highest grade of 88 stars Spirit Light Child condensed by a God King himself, it's a powerful middle God King, no less, stronger than even a 9 tribulations true God. He attained the perfect level of the 3 vital signs, Jing, Qi, and Shun, at the Heavenly Saint stage. But for others, even true God-level beings, probably few can cultivate these 3 vital signs to the perfect Heavenly Saint level, and they wouldn't be able to form the strongest 88 stars Spirit Light Child. In comparison, A late-stage Spirit Sea Realm girl being able to form a 7-star Spirit Light Child is indeed impressive. By now, many had begun to worry about the level of the Spirit Light Child they would be able to form. The red-clad girl who had completed the test, upon seeing the beautiful Spirit Light Child Chi, who jumped onto her shoulder, was very pleased and satisfied. Hearing the praises from the 3 major powerhouses, she even had a smile brimming across her face. After giggling, she flew straight out of the Spirit Light God pool and stood to the side, playing with her newly acquired Spirit Light Child. Following her, another martial artist from the lower realm flew into the Spirit Light God pool. The 30-plus youths from the Divine Kingdom, along with the little provincial princess and the descendants of the 4 great generals, were not in a rush to test themselves, apparently wanting to observe the performance of the lower realm martial artists first. The new entrant from the lower realm who flew into the Spirit Light God pool was at the mid-stage of the Heavenly Saint realm. In the Spirit Light God pool, the 3 major test light spheres he formed for Jing, Qi, and Shun were only the size of date pits. In the end, he managed to form only an 11-star Spirit Light Child. He was not much stronger than the previously tested late-stage Spirit Sea Realm girl. This was notwithstanding his higher realm advantage and significant surpassing of the red-clad girl in Jing, Qi, and Shun cultivation. Speaking purely of potential, he might not even compare to the red-clad girl. In the end, the mid-stage Heavenly Saint martial artist, somewhat disappointed, flew out of the Spirit Light God pool with his 11 stars Spirit Light Child. The testing continued without pause. 6 stars, 13 stars, 5 stars, 8 stars, 19 stars. After dozens of lower realm martial artists had completed their tests, not a single one surpassed 20 stars. The best result was a 19 stars Spirit Light Child formed by a martial artist at the late-stage Heavenly Saint level. Finally, when a rotating pill mid-stage martial artist from the lower realm formed a 3-star Spirit Light Child, it even elicited subdued laughter and whispers from the 30-plus young people of the Divine Kingdom. These martial artists from the lower realm are just too weak. Someone even formed only a 3-star Spirit Light Child. It's a wonder how they stumbled upon such luck to come to Minor Pole Sky. Although the young people from the Divine Kingdom spoke in muted voices, they did not bother muffling their voices from the lower realm martial artists. These words, upon reaching the ears of the lower realm martial artists, turned the face of the martial artist who formed the 3-star Spirit Light Child beet red with embarrassment, and the others from the lower realm also shared in the indignation, each with an increasingly unpleasant look. Stay tuned to Empire. Yet the 2 divine kings and divine venerable Hongzhu did not prevent this friction. God King Wuzan turned to divine venerable Hongzhu and said apologetically through a soul transmission while smiling, "Divine Venerable, it's good for the martial artists from the Divine Kingdom and the lower realm, who entered Minor Pole Sky to cultivate, to have a little friction. It can also stimulate their motivation for subsequent cultivation." Divine Venerable Hongzhu also nodded. Such minor disputes are harmless, as long as no real conflict arises. Competition is always a good thing. While the 3 dignitaries were laid back about the situation, Fang Hua, standing next to Yi Chun, could not hold back any longer and stepped forward. "I will take the test." He wanted to win back some face for the martial artists of the lower realm. Seeing Fang Hua being tested, Yi Chun also showed interest and looked toward Fang Hua. Knowing that Fang Hua had a lot of information about the Divine Kingdom, Yi Chun was aware that although this person was from the lower realm, his background might not be simple, and he probably had some formidable trump cards at his disposal. Fang Hua was at the mid-stage rotating pill level, the same as Yi Chun. Yi Chun saw that as soon as Fang Hua flew into the Spirit Light God pool, and the light of the spiritual energy in the pool surged towards his body, very soon, the first light orb for the physical ability test began to form. This time, it directly formed a walnut-sized purple light orb. Seeing such a size of light orb, the eyes of the martial artists from the lower realm all lit up. A walnut-sized light orb, compared with the previous tests, was already considered quite good. Fang Hua's 3 major life science tests had a good start, with the first item being the physical constitution test. If 2 more orbs of this size were produced, it might even be possible to break through to 20 stars. Following that, Fang Hua did not disappoint the martial artists from the lower realm. The light orb formed from his true chi constitution test, which was also a blue orb of walnut size. In the last of the 3 major life science tests, the Divine Soul Constitution test, Feng Hua even condensed a fist-sized blue light orb, which was bigger than the previous 2. Eventually, as the 3 light orbs collided, a spirit light child with 25 stars directly burst out from the midst of them. 25 stars. He was the first among the martial artists from the lower realm to break through the 20-star level. Even divine Venerable Hong Zhu rarely praised Feng Hua. Not bad. Your divine soul has great potential. And your true chi and physical body are not weak either. After cultivating in Minor Pole Sky, you will definitely achieve great returns. God Kings Wuzan and Lei Yun also nodded and smiled at Feng Hua. Seeing the admiration from the 3 powerhouses, Feng Hua bowed to them while holding his fists. Then, with the spirit light child, he flew out of the spirit light god pool with a grin. When he landed next to Yi Chun, he even winked at Yi Chun. How about that, brother Yi Chun? I did quite well, didn't I? Those young people from the Divine Kingdom, if they surpass me, probably won't by much. I'm from the lower realm after all. If I had their cultivation conditions, I would definitely be stronger than them. Hearing Feng Hua's somewhat competitive words, Yi Chen smiled. 25 stars is indeed not bad. Yi Chen's gaze, however, was more focused on the 25 stars spirit light child on Feng Hua's shoulder. Now that they were closer, he could see the spirit light children even clearer. Yi Chen noticed that the palm-sized spirit light children, male warriors would condense little boys, whereas female warriors would condense little girls. The little boys were all dressed in tiny flaming red clothes, with flaming red hair all over their heads. And the little girls were all dressed in tiny ice blue clothes, with ice blue hair all over their heads. What was different, however, was the spiritual rulers they carried on their backs. The higher the star level of the spirit light child, the longer the spiritual ruler they carried. Yi Chen also noticed that the intellectual level of these spirit light children seemed to be related to their ranking. Looking at Feng Hua's 25-star spirit light child, it was clearly more lively in its eye and body movements compared to a 9-star spirit light child that a warrior on the other side of Yi Chen had obtained. While Yi Chen was examining Feng Hua's spirit light child, on the side of the 30-plus young people from the Divine Kingdom, after seeing Feng Hua's performance, especially after hearing praises from the 3 powerhouses, some couldn't help themselves. I'll give it a try. A young man from the Divine Kingdom at the initial stage of Heavenly Saint directly stepped forward. This young Heavenly Saint remained in the Spirit Light God pool for several breaths, and 3 fist-sized light orbs were directly condensed and completed. Eventually, this young man from the Divine Kingdom directly condensed a 38-star Spirit Light child. Not bad. All 3 life signs are very strong. To be able to cultivate to this extent at the initial stage of Heavenly Saint is quite remarkable, God King Wuzan said with a smile. Hearing God King Wuzan's words, this young Heavenly Saint from the Divine Kingdom shot a proud glance at Feng Hua, taking his spirit light child back to the group of young people from the Divine Kingdom. Humph, the first one who stood out must be one of the stronger ones among those 30-some people. The others probably aren't that formidable, Feng Hua muttered. Indeed, as Feng Hua had predicted, several other young people from the Divine Kingdom who tested after did not surpass 38 stars. However, they were all above 20 stars, and even the worst among them was only 2 stars lower than Feng Hua, condensing a 23-star spirit light child. This made the faces of the martial artists from the lower realm turn even grimmer. They were actually being suppressed by the young people from the Divine Kingdom, to the extent that some of the Divine Kingdom's rotating pills were stronger than the Heavenly Saints from the lower realm. This made the martial artists from the lower realm even more disgruntled, with quite a few of them going up to test. As a result, the vast majority were below 15 stars, with only 2 reaching above 20 stars, one at 21 stars, and the other at 22 stars. This outcome made the martial artists from the lower realm finally realize their inadequacies. In the Spirit Light God pool, while they might count as impressive figures in the lower realm, compared to the young people from the Divine Kingdom, they were indeed lacking a lot. Many of the martial artists from the lower realm stopped talking, which made the 30-plus young people from the Divine Kingdom even more pleased with themselves. At that moment, one of the 4 youths who came with the little provincial princess, the oldest 16-year-old youth, spoke up. Let me give it a try. Chapter 483, Yichun makes a move. This young man, if I'm not mistaken, should be Zhao Exayan, the little disciple of General Zhao, one of the Zhao Meng, who, Tian for great generals under the command of the East Territory King. Feng Hua whispered to Yichun. Seeing the 16-year-old step forward, Feng Hua quietly conveyed his thoughts to Yichun. His cultivation level is in the late stage of core rotation, but he's a descendant of the formidable divine venerable Zhao, one of the generals. I'm afraid none of his 3 main vital signs, essence, energy, and spirit, are weak. I wonder how many stars of the spirit light child he can condense. Feng Hua swallowed hard and turned his gaze to Zhao Exen, the disciple of General Zhao, who serves under the East Territory King. Hearing Feng Hua reveal this young man's identity, Yichun also turned his attention to Zhao Exayan. This was one of the 4 individuals whose status was second only to the little provincial princess in the arena. As soon as Zhao Exayan made his appearance, not only did all the martial artists from the lower realm brace themselves, but even the more than 30 youths from the Divine Kingdom had their eyes twitch. Only the little provincial princess and the other 3 youths could maintain a more relaxed composure. The moment Zhao Exayan stepped forward, without a noticeable movement, he directly arrived at the center of the spirit light god pool. This mere footwork astonished countless martial artists. Then, something happened that shocked the more than 30 young people from the Divine Kingdom and all the martial artists from the lower realm. Zhao Exayan had actually managed to condense 3 light groups, each the size of 2 fists, and in the end, he successfully formed a spirit light child worth a total of 49 stars. 49 stars. It's the highest level in the arena, second only to the earlier performance of God King Wuzan. Zhao Exayan, worthy of being a descendant of the 4 great generals under the East Territory King, stunned everyone with his initial move. Although he was at the late stage of core rotation, he turned out to be stronger than many martial artists who were in the later stage of Heavenly Saint. Such an achievement made Feng Hua take a deep breath. Even Yichun nodded seriously for the first time. Many martial artists from the lower realm were so shocked by this achievement that they fell into a state of stupor. Their tests resulted in 3, 5, 6 stars at most, with the highest being only 25 stars. This young man had reached 49 stars, an absolute shock when compared with the martial artists from the lower realm. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. While the majority of the martial artists were astonished, the little provincial princess playfully said to the young man, Zhao Exayan, you haven't even reached 50 stars. All those divine pills General Zhao fed you over the years were wasted. 49 stars still not enough? Many eyes turned towards the little provincial princess. Hearing the little provincial princess's voice, Zhao Exayan's face turned somewhat red, while the other 3 youths revealed smiles. Little provincial princess, I will definitely surpass 50 stars. One particularly handsome youth flew directly into the center of the spirit light god pool. This is Tian Li, the little grandchild of General Tian, one of the 4 great generals. Feng Hua said to Yichun, his eyes firmly fixed on the handsome youth, Tian Li. Yichun also watched Tian Li. He wanted to see if all 4 youths were truly strong. Indeed, as he expected, this youth surpassed the slightly older Zhao Exayan by directly forming a spirit light child of 52 stars. Little provincial princess, look at my child, it's worth 52 stars. Tian Li said as he flew out of the spirit light god pool and landed beside the little provincial princess, flaunting his spirit light child. The little provincial princess looked curiously at the child before her gaze returned to the spirit light god pool. I wonder how many stars I could form. By the looks of it, I must be able to form a beautiful spirit light little girl. The little provincial princess seemed quite expectant. She didn't make her move right away but continued to watch the trials below. Seeing Tian Qi showing off his feat to the little provincial princess, the other 2 youths could not hold back and started their tests one after another. In the end, Meng Qi, a descendant of General Meng among the 4 great generals, formed a 51-star spirit light child, and Hu Lin, descendant of General Hu, a 50-star spirit light child, All 4 youths achieved impressive results. Enjoy exclusive adventures from Empire. 49 stars, 52 stars, 51 stars, 50 stars. They were directly the top 4 performers in the arena. This display deterred the others from descending to the testing area. Even the 30-some youths from the Divine Kingdom didn't dare to step forward now. Having just tested, the descendants of the 4 great generals made going now seem unappealing. Even if their achievements were decent, they would pale in comparison. Why make a fool of oneself? Better to wait for a few more mediocre performances to temper the astonishment the 4 youths caused before stepping in. That was the mindset of the young people from the Divine Kingdom, and none of them took a step forward. Not only were the young people from the Divine Kingdom shrewd, but the martial artists from the lower realm were no fools either. They could also see the situation clearly. Stepping forward at this time was far too risky. Stark comparisons were disadvantageous, so they, too, were unwilling to proceed. For a moment, the scene fell into an unusual silence. Seeing that no one else was willing to take the test, Yi Chun, who stood beside Feng Hua, smiled and shook his head. "I'll go then." Yi Chun was also unfamiliar with the testing method of the Spirit Light God Pool. He, too, wanted to see how many stars of Spirit Light children he could actually condense. Yi Chun had not directly tested before because he wanted to observe more. Now that no one else was testing, he didn't feel like waiting any longer. A stark contrast? Results not as good as those 4 young men? Yi Chun hadn't thought too much about it. Whether you test late or early, you've got to test eventually, and the results have to be faced sooner or later. Could it be that delaying the test would change the outcome? To become fearful before even testing was not Yi Chun's style. Yi Chun stepped forward, which completely surprised the martial artists from the lower realm and over 30 youths from the Divine Kingdom. They had never expected someone from the lower realm to volunteer for the test, seemingly unafraid of any comparison. Yi Chun's actions also gave Feng Hua, who was beside him, quite the start. Feng Hua hurriedly transmitted a message to Yi Chun. "Brother Yi Chun, this isn't a good time to test." "It's all right," Yi Chun said with a smile to Feng Hua, and then slowly walked toward the Spirit Light God Pool. Yi Chun didn't flash into the Spirit Light God Pool instantaneously, flaunting his movement technique like Zhao Xian. If he wanted, with the ability of void instantaneous divine travel, Yi Chun could also achieve that. Nor did Yi Chun fly directly into the Spirit Light God Pool as the others had done. Instead, he walked while feeling the sensation of getting increasingly closer to the Spirit Light God Pool. "This youth is out of the ordinary," Divine Venerable Hong Zhu suddenly said to the 2 divine kings via transmission. "I have a premonition that he might surprise us." The divine kings were both shocked when they heard Divine Venerable Hong Zhu's words. They could only see that Yi Chun had a bone age of 16 and was already in the middle stage of the spinning pill realm, which, for the lower realm, was already quite impressive. They also noticed that Yi Chun had the courage to step forward in such circumstances and maintained a calm demeanor, neither arrogant nor impetuous, revealing that Yi Chun was a composed and cool-headed youth. However, they did not possess the power of Divine Venerable Hong Zhu to sense directly how extraordinary Yi Chun was. To have a Divine Venerable speak out and say someone was extraordinary was a first in this place. Naturally, they wouldn't doubt a Divine Venerable's premonition. With this thought, both God King Wuzan and God King Lei Yun focused all their attention on Yi Chun. Seeing the solemn attentiveness of the 2 divine kings and Divine Venerable Hong Zhu appearing quite interested, the little provincial princess, who was intelligent and keen, constantly observing everyone in the area, now also fixed her gaze on Yi Chun. What's so special about him that even Aunt Hong Zhu looked so intrigued? The little provincial princess's expression became unusually serious. Her seriousness, in turn, caused the 4 young descendants of the generals who had been paying attention to her to also look toward Yi Chun. As countless eyes were focused on him, Yi Chun took a dozen steps and finally arrived at the edge of the Spirit Light God Pool. After closing his eyes and sensing the aura of the God Pool, Yi Chun's figure moved, and he flew into the Spirit Light God Pool. Feeling the spiritual light flowing toward him, the first thing Yi Chun felt was the activation of every cell in his flesh. as the techniques of the 9 transformation fighting body and icebound divine body that he had practiced also started to stir. A purple light group began to form as the activity of his fleshly cells and the motion of his bodily techniques stimulated its condensation. This purple light group is to test one of the 3 major signs of life, the physical body sign, that includes 2 parts. One is my current combat strength from my physical cultivation. The other part is the potential of my physical body. Yichen guessed as he sensed the changes both inside and outside his body. Perhaps these lights of spiritual energy transformed the changes within the body into the condensed spiritual light outside the body. As Yichen made his guess, he relaxed his physical body, allowing the purple light group representing his physical test to grow from the size of a small fingertip to that of a peach pit, and then to the size of a walnut. With the techniques of the icebound divine body stirring, the purple light group grew even larger, approaching the size of a fist. When they saw that Yichen's physical test light group had grown larger than a fist, the martial artists from the lower realm, including Feng Hua, couldn't help but exclaim in shock. A physical test light group larger than a fist was, indeed, the best result from the lower realm. Among the exclaiming crowd, Feng Hua was the most astonished. He had kept in communication with Yichen because the latter had come from the 33 mainland, which hadn't sent anyone to Minor Pole Sky for 160,000 years. Feng Hua was naturally curious about Yichen. On the other hand, Feng Hua also vaguely felt a mysterious calmness about Yichen, making it very comfortable to be around him. But Feng Hua never imagined that Yichen could be so powerful, let alone surpass him. Now, at the same realm, spinning pill middle stage as Feng Hua, Yichen's first condensation of the physical light group had already surpassed his strongest divine soul light group, which was a complete surprise to him. Not only were the martial artists from the lower realm shocked, but when Yichen's physical test light group reached 1.5 fist in size, the 33 youths from the divine kingdom were also astonished beyond measure. Even the 4 young descendants of the generals started to become nervous. They had noticed the little provincial princess's focus on Yichen. When they had taken their tests earlier, the 3 major life signs light groups were only slightly larger than 2 fists or exactly 2 fists in size. Now Yichen was incredibly close to that level. For some reason, all 4 youths felt an inexplicable worry. In the end, when Yichen's first test, the physical test, fully stimulated the techniques of the icebound divine body, and the final test light group settled at nearly 2 fist sizes, the 4 youths finally breathed a sigh of relief. The 4 youths all looked at the little provincial princess simultaneously, their gazes carrying implicit meaning. This youth is still not as good as us. However, they failed to notice that when the little provincial princess saw Yichen's physical test reach nearly 2 fists in size, her eyes sparkled even more brightly. He's only in the middle stage of spinning pill, yet he's reached this level, and he's from the lower realm. It seems he truly is out of the ordinary. I wonder, for the next 2 tests, the True Chi test and the Divine Soul test, how he will perform. Chapter 484-. Shocking everyone, the 4 young men could finally catch their breath. However, at this moment, the more than 30 youths from the Divine Kingdom were completely shocked, their mouths agape. In particular, the white-clothed noble son Wang Xian, who had previously looked down on martial artists from the lower realm with disdain, was now as if he had seen a ghost. He had previously said that the martial artists from the lower realm definitely could not compare to them, and he had even doubted whether they could enter the 3rd training area. Now, there emerged a martial artist from the lower realm who could condense a physical test light cluster to nearly the size of 2 fists. To say that such a person couldn't make it to the 3rd training area would be unbelievable to many. This was a complete slap in the face for him. It made him no longer dare to underestimate the martial artists from the lower realm. After all, this result in the physical body test was the strongest achievement aside from the descendants of the 4 great generals. Even those young people from the Divine Kingdom who had previously tested in this segment of the physical body test, their light clusters were only the size of a fist. This martial artist from the lower realm had nearly doubled that. What's more, as one progresses further, condensing the light clusters becomes harder, and it should not be simply evaluated by size multiples. To condense a light cluster close to the size of 2 fists, The true worth is many times, even dozens of times greater than the strength contained within a light cluster the size of a single fist. This directly indicated that this young man from the lower realm, in the aspect of the physical test, was far superior in strength and potential to that young person from the divine kingdom who had tested earlier. Wang Xian himself had a premonition that he definitely wouldn't reach this level in the physical test. A martial artist from the lower realm was stronger than him, much stronger. How could this not deeply shock Wang Xian, who had always been proud of his identity as a youth from the divine kingdom? However, amidst Wang Xian's disbelief, he still comforted himself. Perhaps this martial artist from the lower realm just has strong physical life vital signs, and the other two major life vital signs, the true Qi life vital sign and divine soul life vital sign, might not necessarily be strong. This first light cluster is his strong point, which is why he performed so well. There were quite a few people who speculated like Wang Xian. Even among the martial artists from the lower realm, many were worried that Yi Chen was too strong in the physical cluster condensation but might be weaker in other areas. After all, it was extremely difficult to be strong in all respects among the martial artists from the lower realm. Amidst the speculation of many people, Yi Chen, who had finished condensing the physical test light cluster, began to condense the second light cluster, the true Qi test light cluster. At this time, all eyes became even more focused on Yi Chen. Some wanted to see if Yi Chen would fail miserably in the second aspect of the three major signs of life tests, the true Qi life vital sign test, and if he was only strong in the physical test. Others were curious to know whether Yi Chen could once again condense such a powerful light cluster. Among the three powerhouses on the field, Divine Venerable Hong Zhu's eyes were particularly sharp as she stared at Yi Chen. True Qi life vital signs test. This young man, I feel that his true Qi life vital signs are far beyond his physical body. The great surprise I had premonitioned might very well lie in this true Qi life vital sign. The premonition was her instinct as a divine venerable. Whether it was accurate or not, Divine Venerable Hongzhu still had to keep watching. As for the guesses of Divine Venerable Hongzhu and the thoughts of other martial artists, Yi Chen had no interest in observing them. All his attention was now focused on the changes in his true Qi life vital signs within his body and the condensation of the green light cluster for the true Qi test outside his body. Experience new stories on Empire. Right after he finished condensing the physical life light cluster, Yi Chen noticed that the spiritual light in the spirit light divine pool surged chaotically towards him, and his Qi had already begun to respond. With a stir of true Qi in his Qi, the green true Qi test light cluster began to condense and swell. As for how large the green light cluster could be, Yi Chen did not know. But Yi Chen was absolutely confident that this true Qi test light cluster would definitely be much larger than the previous physical test light cluster, because he knew himself best of all. In terms of physical life vital signs, Yi Chen had not yet cultivated to the utmost limit. He had only practiced the basic 810 styles of the 9 transformation fighting body and the icebound divine body. During his practice, Yi Chen felt that his physical potential was also quite impressive. But for the true Qi life vital signs, that was always Yi Chen's ultimate card for survival, always his strongest method in countless battles to preserve his life. Yi Chen's comprehension and potential in true Qi cultivation, in his own feeling, were countless times greater than his physical potential. Not just in potential but also in the strength of true Qi, Yi Chen was absolutely not weak. In the midway realm of rotating pill, his true combat power had already reached the level of late-stage heavenly saint, which was probably inconceivable for the youths in the divine kingdom. Moreover, the cultivation technique Yi Chen practiced was the primordial star scripture, which was an unimaginably powerful divine art that Yi Chen felt was certainly stronger than even the divine kings or divine venerables. Through the primordial star scripture, Yi Chen, just by reaching great accomplishment in the 3rd chapter Taiyuan chapter, could cultivate 999 5-apertures rotating pills that no other rotating pill realm powerhouses could imagine, and even unite the 999 rotating pills into a unique Taiyuan divine pill. There were also the divine arts. Yi Chen had even cultivated the 5 great divine arts. Not to mention the primordial star scripture, just the Biming secret tome, was likely to give him a great boost in the true Qi test, let alone his flying sword skills. Yi Chun had absolute confidence that, regarding the second life vital sign test of the three, he would make another great breakthrough, just as in the physical test. Whoosh! Whoosh! While Yi Chun observed the changes within and without his body, the Cyan True Chi Life vital sign test light cluster in front of him kept swelling larger. From the size of a fingertip, it quickly ballooned to the size of a peach pit, and then to the size of a walnut. When the cyan light cluster reached the size of a fist, all the martial artists from the lower realm gaped in amazement, and the Feng Hua, who had been conversing with Yi Chun, almost jumped up in surprise. Brother Yi Chun is not only formidable in the physical body, his true chi is also so strong. As the cyan light cluster grew beyond fist size, advancing toward the size of 2 fists, the young people of the Divine Kingdom, especially the young man in white, Wang Xian, were completely stunned. He had previously said that Yi Chun excelled in the physical test and thereby created a miracle in the first light cluster's coalescence, but now he watched as the second light cluster was about to surpass the first one. At this moment, how could Wang Xian not see that Yi Chun was absolutely not weak in the true Qi life vital sign, and might even be stronger than the physical body life vital sign? When the second light cluster around Yi Chun's body surpassed the size of 2 fists and continued to grow, even the descendants of the 4 great generals, Zhao Xian, Tian Li, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin, were astounded. They had seen with their own eyes that Yi Chun, who was slightly behind them in the first physical body test, now had a cyan light cluster in the second true Qi test that was already larger than the light cluster of any of them. This meant that Yi Chun had now surpassed them in the true Qi life vital sign test. What terrified them more was that Yi Chun's true Qi test light cluster showed no sign of slowing down and was still expanding, still challenging for greater size. This completely exceeded their imaginations. It showed that Yi Chun's true Qi life vital sign was much more than just barely surpassing them. It far surpassed them. How big can his true Qi test light cluster get? With each increase in size of the cyan light cluster before Yi Chun, the hearts of the 4 youths jolted violently. When the second light cluster in front of Yi Chun reached the size of half a head, not only were the 4 youths rendered speechless, but all the warriors present were plunged into deathly silence. They knew that Yi Chun was merely in the midway realm of rotating pill. He was at a significant disadvantage in terms of realm. At this realm, to have such a level of true Qi life vital sign, if he were in Heavenly Saint, it was very likely that he could reach great perfection in the true Qi life vital sign layer. In the end, when Yi Chun's second light cluster, the cyan true Qi life vital sign test light cluster, stopped at larger than half a head, just shy of perfection level, the second life vital sign assessment finally came to an end. Divine Venerable Hong Zhu, God King Lei Yun, and God King Wutsan instantly flew over to the edge of the spirit light divine pool, their divine eyes bursting with excitement. This time, they had personally witnessed a miracle brought forth by a warrior from the lower realm. How could they not be immensely excited? Even the little provincial princess flew to the spot closest to Yi Chun, her lively eyes fixated entirely on him. And the more than 8,000 martial artists from the lower realm, led by Feng Hua, burst into cheers and thunderous applause. Chapter 485-8 Training Chambers. How could the warriors from the lower realm not be excited? Among them, a figure like Yi Chun had emerged. In the face of more than 30 young people from the Divine Kingdom, and even surpassing the descendants of the 4 great generals of the East Territory King, this was someone from the lower realm. With Yi Chun as their representative, those young people from the Divine Kingdom would no longer dare to look down on warriors from the lower realm. After all, they could no longer say that warriors from the lower realm were inferior to them. Enjoy more content from Empire. Because of Yi Chun. That's enough. Even if Yi Chun's last life vital sign test, the Divine Soul Life vital sign test, is not good, it's still enough. To surpass everyone in the true Qi life vital sign test, and to reach the size of nearly half a head, that's already a miracle. He is only at the mid-stage of swirling pill, yet his future is truly immeasurable. The joy of the lower realm warriors was already great enough. Their greater hope was that they too, like Yi Chun, could one day stand as the pride of the lower realm, shoulder to shoulder, or even surpass the young generation of the Divine Kingdom. This hope, even if it couldn't be realized now, would be etched in their hearts after they returned from minor pole sky, urging themselves to diligently cultivate, to constantly progress. This was a psychological stimulation and lift. This was the influence of an outstanding figure. After all, who doesn't want to become strong? Who doesn't want others to cheer for them, to take pride in them? This change in mentality, this determination and drive were their first gains from coming to minor pole sky. The gains Yi Chun brought them. In the excitement and determination of the lower realm warriors, the second light cluster coalesced, and Yi Chun, who had created a miracle, finally began to challenge the last light cluster, the Divine Soul Life Vital Sign Test. This time, although it wasn't as dazzling as the True Chi Test light cluster, it was still very good. It also reached nearly the size of 2 fists, just like the physical test light cluster. In the end, among the collisions of Yi Chun's 3 great light clusters, a surprisingly magical spirit light child with 62 stars burst forth. 62 stars. Yi Chun's final result. Slightly better than the descendants of the 4 great generals, the 4 youths. But at this moment, the 4 youths breathed a sigh of relief. During Yi Chun's True Chi Life Vital Sign Test, they knew that his results might surpass theirs due to the extraordinary performance of this life vital sign. What they were worried about was that Yi Chun's Divine Soul Life Vital Sign Test would also be overwhelmingly strong. If that were the case, they would have found it unacceptable. Now it was alright, Yi Chun had only surpassed them in the True Chi Life Vital Sign aspect, and was slightly weaker than them in both physical and Divine Soul Life Vital Signs. This result they could accept. Otherwise, as descendants of powerful beings from the Divine Kingdom, losing to Yi Chun in all 3 aspects would have indeed been too much to bear. Whoosh! Once the Spirit Light Child was fully formed, Yi Chun, with his own child figure that was the size of a palm, dressed in a tiny fiery red outfit with fiery red hair, lively and spirited, flew out of the Spirit Light God Pool. As Yi Chun walked past the more than 30 young people from the Divine Kingdom, heading towards the group of warriors from the lower realm, the young people from the Divine Kingdom unconsciously made way for him. They had already seen that this warrior from the lower realm would definitely not be an ordinary figure. Perhaps he was the next God King of the Divine Kingdom or even a Divine Venerable. Although they were descendants of a God King, none of them had the full confidence to surpass their forebears and achieve the title of God King. Yet this youth before them showed such a possibility. At this moment, the identity of being from the lower realm no longer made them look down on him. Instead, they held Yi Chun in even higher regard. After all, to cultivate to such an extent and to have such talent from the lower realm was truly astonishing. The strong are respected everywhere, and Yi Chun deserved such respect. Ha ha! Brother Yi Chun, you've kept yourself so well hidden. I hadn't imagined you'd be this powerful. When Yi Chun returned to the group of lower realm warriors, he was immediately surrounded by a crowd of warriors, with Feng Hua praising Yi Chun with a smile all over his face. At this time, the 3 great figures in the arena, including Divine Venerable Hongzhu, sent a message to the other 2 God Kings. This young man deserves more attention in what follows. Let's see how he cultivates and fares in the competitions. After all, the minor pole sky is considered part of the East Province of the Divine Kingdom. If he continues to surprise us, we should extend our help and get him from the lower realm to the Divine Kingdom sooner. The East Territory King is indeed eager for talent. The 2 God Kings nodded repeatedly. Of course, the Heavenly Cloud Venerable initially established minor pole sky precisely to help warriors from the lower realm. We will do our utmost to assist them. As everyone conversed, unexpectedly, the little provincial princess, who had been observing others form the Spirit Light Child, stepped forward after Yi Chun completed the tests. The little provincial princess, the person with the most revered status in the arena. Plus, she was also the youngest, only 12 years old. Her test naturally drew the attention of everyone. Even the lower realm warriors who had been surrounding Yi Chun turned their attention towards the little provincial princess. Yi Chun, like the others, turned his gaze towards the little provincial princess. He too wanted to know just what level the true 3 life vital signs of this nobly born little lowly would be. What Yi Chun did not expect was for the little provincial princess to not head straight for the Spirit Light God Pool. Instead, She smiled at Yi-chan and said, "Big brother, your true chi life vital sign is very impressive. I've come to Minor Pole Sky specifically to cultivate this life vital sign. However, I'll surpass you in the other two major life vital signs." After saying this, the little provincial princess chuckled and jumped into the spirit light god pool. Whoosh! The words of the little provincial princess caused everyone's gaze to once again turn towards Yi-chan. This was the first time the little provincial princess had initiated a conversation with someone since she entered the Great Hall. The warriors from the lower realm, even the 30-odd young people from the Divine Kingdom, all enviously looked towards Yi-chan. Even Zhao Xian, Tian Li, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin felt a tinge of jealousy towards Yi-chan. They had tried to curry favor with the little provincial princess all along, but she hadn't taken any special notice of them. Now, a warrior from the lower realm had actually received her praise directly. How could they not be jealous? However, thinking about Yi-chan's performance in terms of true chi life vital sign, they also felt somewhat helpless. It was because they had not created a miracle as Yi-chan had, which had elicited the little provincial princess's utmost admiration. Yi-chan, under the scrutiny of countless gazes, shook his head and smiled. He too did not expect this little lowly princess to talk to him. But Yi-chan noticed the meaning in the little provincial princess's words. From what the little provincial princess had said, was it that her true chi life vital sign was the weakest among her three major life vital signs? Did she come here expressly to cultivate this life vital sign? Yi-chan knew that the little provincial princess was only 12 or 13 years old. Her cultivation realm was even lower than his, at the initial stage of Dan rotation. Perhaps her potential in the physical body and divine soul was exceptionally high. Curious, Yi-chan watched the little provincial princess, who had jumped into the spirit light god pool. After speaking with Yi-chan and jumping into the spirit light god pool, the little provincial princess began to form the three testing light clusters. As the little provincial princess formed light clusters, Divine Venerable Hong Zhu remained calmly smiling, showing no hint of nervousness. It was clear she had absolute confidence in the test results of the little provincial princess. The four teenagers who accompanied the little provincial princess also looked helplessly towards the spirit light god pool. Obviously, they too seemed to be aware of the little provincial princess's true strength. And indeed, as if confirming what those familiar with the little provincial princess had expected, the purple physical test light cluster she formed in the spirit light god pool was nearly as large as Yi-chan's previously most powerful true chi life vital sign test light cluster, reaching the size of half a head. Moreover, the divine soul life vital sign test light cluster of the little provincial princess was even stronger than Yi-chan's true chi test light cluster, almost as large as a complete head, very close to the saint-level consummate standard. Indeed, as the little provincial princess had said earlier, her true chi life vital sign test light cluster was slightly weaker than the other two. Yet this slight weakness was only relative, as her true chi test light cluster was as large as two fists. In the end, after all three life vital sign tests were complete, the little provincial princess directly formed a 71-star spirit light child. 71 stars. The only test score in the hall that surpassed 70 stars. This was the result of a 12 or 13-year-old girl at the initial stage of Dan rotation. Setting aside the little provincial princess's status, her achievement alone was enough to command the admiration of all the warriors present. Even Yi-chan had no choice but to concede. This little lowly is truly deserving of being the daughter of the East Territory King, with such strong potential in her physical body and divine soul, especially her divine soul potential, which is ridiculously powerful. Is this the spirit light child? After completing her test, the little provincial princess looked adoringly at the small girl who had hopped onto her shoulder. Being young herself, she naturally adored the cute and lively spirit light child. After flying out of the spirit light god pool, the little provincial princess's attention was wholly captivated by her newly acquired spirit light child, even dismissing the congratulations from Zhao Xian, Tian Li, and the others. It was only when Yi-chan looked towards her that the little provincial princess returned a look that seemed to say, "See, I told you my physical and divine soul tests would be really impressive." The powerful results of Yi-chan and the little provincial princess caused those waiting to test to hesitate before proceeding. However, the testing had to continue. Under the urging of God King Wutsan, the remaining individuals stepped up to take their tests. But with such outstanding precedents set by the little provincial princess and the descendants of the four great generals, subsequent participants failed to produce any more shocking results. Only a few young individuals from the Divine Kingdom managed to create spirit light children around 40 stars. Among the lower realm warriors, one managed to create a 30-star spirit light child. After that, there were no more surprises. Once all the warriors had finished their tests, each had received his or her own spirit light child. Yet, at that moment nobody could relax, for God King Wutsan had announced that with the tests concluded, it was time to choose the training chambers. As I said before, there are a total of 88 training chambers in the first area. Selection shall proceed according to the ranking order of the tests just completed. The little provincial princess will choose first, Yi-chan will choose second, Tian Li will choose third. The selection order announced by God King Wutsan immediately put everyone on edge. Following that, another statement from God King Wutsan made the warriors' hearts race even more. I must also inform you that after selecting your training chambers, you will have only 1 month to train. In 1 month, the first assessment competition will take place. Those who fail the competition will be eliminated and must leave Minor Pole Sky. Only those who pass the competition will be able to move on to the next training location. Chapter 486 Undying Divine Body. The first place of cultivation, the Infinity God Temple, allowed only 1 month for cultivation. After 1 month of cultivation, there would be a contest, where the weaker participants would be eliminated and no longer able to cultivate in the secret realms that lay behind Minor Pole Sky. Only those who passed the assessment and contest would have the opportunity to continue their cultivation. The words of God King Wutsan made the group of martial artists somewhat tense. Whether they were warriors from the lower planes, youngsters from the Divine Kingdom, or the little provincial princess and the descendants of the four great generals, everyone who came to Minor Pole Sky's secret realm naturally wanted to cultivate here for as long as possible. After all, the mere emergence of the miraculous spirit light children from the spirit light god pool was enough to reveal the value of this place of cultivation. Moreover, since the little provincial princess herself was here for cultivation, it was clear that this site was extraordinary. I wonder how the assessment and contest will be conducted after a month. Many pondered in their hearts. However, the method of the upcoming assessment and contest had not yet been clarified, and their speculations were pointless for now. What was most important at the moment was to make the most of this first place of cultivation and the 1 month of cultivation time. God King Wutsan continued, the first place of cultivation has 88 cultivation chambers, all related to the physical and vital signs of your mortal bodies. Within these chambers, some contain precious materials for bodily cultivation, some contain miraculous methods for enhancing the body, and in some treasure chambers, there are even divine body cultivation skills collected by the esteemed Heavenly Cloud Venerable who established Minor Pole Sky. Divine body cultivation skills. At these words, Yi-chan was also startled. He had encountered divine body cultivation skills before. The Icebound Divine King had left behind a set called Icebound Divine Body. Just by cultivating the basic 810 forms of Icebound Divine Body, Yi-chan felt his physical strength had become incredibly powerful, and his vital signs had increased countless times. And that was without even fully cultivating the divine body cultivation skills, just the basic part of them. Yi-chan could only take a deep breath when he thought of how the complete, icebound divine body could even harness the power of the 9 ice domain divine stars. At that time, it was probably possible for his physical strength to shatter an entire minor world. After all, that was the strongest divine body cultivation skill left by the upper-tier divine king, the icebound divine king. Now, in this Infinity God Temple, there were even divine body cultivation skills collected by the powerful Heavenly Cloud Venerable, which were far beyond Yi-chan's anticipation. Yi-chan speculated that not all divine body cultivation skills here might surpass Icebound Divine Body, but surely 1 or 2 of them would be stronger than the Icebound Divine Body. The question is whether I can select other divine body cultivation skills to practice alongside the basic 810 forms of icebound divine body I've already cultivated. My physical and vital signs are slightly weaker compared to those of the little provincial princess and the 4 descendants of the great generals. Further improvement is needed. If I could also cultivate other divine body cultivation skills, the combined effect could make my physical combat strength even more formidable. Experience exclusive tales on Empire. Not all cultivation techniques are compatible. Some may conflict, and cultivating more is not always better. With this concern, Yi Chun became somewhat worried. A thought stirred in Yi Chen's mind, and he entered the Ice Snow Jade Pendant to consult with the 9 icebound guards. Venerable seniors, is it possible to cultivate multiple divine body cultivation skills? Hearing Yi Chen's question, Bing Shi pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, Your Highness Yi Chun, some divine bodies can be cultivated simultaneously, while others must be avoided. It all depends on the specific divine body cultivation skills. However, our former master practiced 2 other divine body cultivation skills in addition to the icebound divine body. According to the old master, the icebound divine body, due to its power being derived from the ice domain divine stars, had a great tolerance and was not greatly antagonistic to other divine body cultivation skills. Not greatly antagonistic to other divine body cultivation skills? Upon hearing what Bing Shi said, Yi Chun nodded, feeling some hope arise in his heart. After all, he would be the second one to choose a cultivation chamber, so he would see which chamber suited him best and then make a decision. As Yi Chun was considering what to cultivate in the first chamber, the other martial artists were doing the same. Meanwhile, among the youngsters who were descendants of the 4 great generals, the handsome young boy Tian Li, who would pick a chamber after Yi Chun and had ranked 3rd in the earlier test, looked towards the direction of the 88 chambers. Before I came here, my grandfather mentioned that it's rumored the Heavenly Cloud Venerable had collected a set of extremely powerful divine body cultivation skills and placed the first 3 volumes in the 88 secret chambers of the Infinity God Temple. This set of divine body cultivation skills is known as the Undying Divine Body. It's said that if one cultivates it to the extreme, one could really achieve the state of 9 transformations of lifespan and become truly undying. It can be considered the most powerful set of divine body cultivation skills among the 88 secret chambers. It's of great use even for divine kings facing the divine tribulation. Although divine venerables with their overwhelming abilities may still be able to kill those who cultivate the undying divine body, within the divine king realm, this body is almost invincible. Not to mention the great help this body offers to lifespan and crossing the divine tribulation. Just the sustained augmentation of combat power during battle makes it absolutely worth cultivating. Given the chance, I must choose this set of divine body cultivation skills to practice. There are only the first 3 volumes available, but I've heard that as long as you complete the cultivation of these 3 volumes, you can meet the Venerable Heavenly Cloud, and he will pass on the subsequent techniques. Even my grandfather had few opportunities to encounter the Venerable Heavenly Cloud, who has always been elusive. If I can meet him, perhaps there will be unexpected gains. With these thoughts, Tian Li's gaze turned towards Yi Chun. Only 2 people were selecting their cultivation chambers ahead of him. One was the little provincial princess, and the other was Yi Chun. The little provincial princess is a young girl, and Tian Li, who was aware of the undying divine body, knew that it was not suitable for girls like the little provincial princess to practice. The only one who might compete with him for it was Yi Chun. At this thought, Tian Li's breath began to quicken with nervous anticipation. I hope that Yi Chun does not understand the preciousness of the undying divine body. Since he was choosing after Yi Chun, he could only hope that Yi Chun was unaware of the origins of the undying divine body and had not chosen the chamber to practice it, which would leave him with a chance. Not just Tian Li thought this way. The other 3 young descendants of the great generals after Tian Li also knew about the undying divine body. The undying divine body is the strongest divine body collected by the Heavenly Cloud Venerable. It's even famous among divine venerables. Alas, Tian Li must certainly know the value of this body, and with us selecting after him, we probably won't have the chance to choose it. While everyone had their own thoughts, God King Wuzan, who was presiding over this first cultivation location, spoke again. "All right, everyone will be given the time of 1 incense stick to first acquaint themselves with the general situation of the 88 cultivation chambers. Then come back here, and in the order of your previous rankings, determine your cultivation chambers one by one. The situation of each of the 88 cultivation chambers is inscribed on the steels outside their doors. You'll know as soon as you see them. Now go and take a look at the chambers." Having finished speaking, God King Wutsan then directed them towards the path leading to the 88 chambers. Everyone flew towards the 88 cultivation chambers of this Infinity God Temple. This path was extremely wide, beginning from a side hall entrance. Upon flying several hundred yards forward, chambers flanked the path on both sides. From the outside, each chamber looked like stacks of dark, massive stones. At the entrance to each chamber hung a stone stele with inscriptions detailing the specifics of that chamber. As Yi-chan walked along the path, observing each chamber's description, Spirit Light Child number 62, perched on his shoulder, also introduced these chambers to him. "Master, this third chamber contains a peculiar divine material for tempering all the cells in the body. It can fundamentally alter the potential of one's flesh. However, there are only 3 or 2 ounces of this material, enough to temper only a part of the cells. Master, this 8th chamber houses a divine body known as the Bright Emperor Divine Body, ranked 369th among known divine bodies. Its function is to generate scorching sun divine power. Master, this 53rd chamber." With the explanations from the Spirit Light Child and viewing the inscriptions on the stone steels, Yi-chan walked up to chamber number 81 at a leisurely pace. He then saw an inscription at the entrance of chamber 81 that read, "This chamber contains the first 3 volumes of the Undying Divine Body Cultivation Technique. This chamber is restricted to 1 person for cultivation, and just like other divine body cultivation skills, it must not be passed on. This technique's cultivation will engrave unique divine runes into the flesh and bones. After completing the first 3 volumes, one may use the clues from the last volume to meet me, the words of Heavenly Cloud Venerable." Realizing he could meet the founder of the Minor Pole Sky, the Heavenly Cloud Venerable, Yi-chan's heart skipped a beat. At that moment, the Spirit Light Child on his shoulder seemed somewhat excited as it recommended to him, "Master, this divine body cultivation skill is extraordinary. It ranks 32nd among all known divine bodies. The 31 divine bodies that rank before it can only be cultivated by specific races, and they required a divine venerable for initial cultivation. It can be said that, for those below the divine venerable level, this skill is the strongest available for cultivation." Chapter 487, Selection. The divine body cultivation skills below the divine venerable realm that can be practiced. Is this technique the strongest? Hearing the words of the Spirit Light Child, Yi-chan felt a tightening in his heart. Of course, he wanted to practice the most powerful divine body cultivation skills. Moreover, according to the stele in front of this secret chamber, after completing the first 3 volumes, he could even meet the Heavenly Cloud Venerable. The Heavenly Cloud Venerable was the mighty being of the divine venerable realm who had established the Minor Pole Sky. Yi-chan certainly wanted to meet such a personage. For a moment, Yi-chan became greatly interested in chamber number 81 and the undying divine body cultivation skills within it. Stay connected through Empire. However, Yi-chan also had some doubts. If this technique is the strongest, then why is it placed in chamber number 81? Why not in a chamber further back? There were a total of 88 chambers here. Yi-chan had noticed a pattern. The closer to the deeper chambers, the more precious the treasures or cultivation techniques inside. At this moment, hearing the Spirit Light Child say that the undying divine body within chamber number 81 was the most precious certainly made Yi-chan curious. When Yi-chan sent his divine sense to look at the steles in the chambers further behind, he could see that there were cultivation skills for the divine body in the 3 chambers following. Logic dictated that the techniques in the back should be more precious. The Spirit Light Child chuckled at Yi-chan and said, "Master, this undying divine body is indeed the most precious. However, it has 9 volumes in total and only the first 3 volumes are placed here, unlike the complete divine body cultivation skills that are behind. Moreover, this undying divine body is extremely difficult to cultivate, and many people simply cannot fully comprehend the first 3 volumes, much less have the opportunity to meet the great heavenly cloud venerable and ask for the latter skills. Therefore, this set of skills is placed in chamber number 81. But if you really complete the first 3 volumes and obtain the latter 6, this divine body cultivation skills set will definitely be the most powerful in the Infinity God Temple. So that's how it is. The skill set was incomplete and extremely difficult to cultivate, so it was placed a bit closer to the front. Yichun nodded. Yichun still had another doubt at the bottom of his heart. Spirit Light Child, is it possible to practice this set of divine body cultivation skills with other divine body techniques? This was Yichun's most pressing concern. After all, Yichun still intended to cultivate the icebound divine body. If the undying divine body couldn't be practiced alongside the icebound divine body, then he would have to look for other divine body cultivation skills. Master, the reason why the undying divine body is so powerful is not only because of the 9 transformations, immortal and indestructible mighty abilities it possesses, but also because of its compatibility. This set of divine body cultivation skills can be practiced by almost anyone, including those with other divine body foundations. The only requirement is extremely high comprehension in cultivation. While anyone can practice it, mastering it to a profound level is extremely difficult. Can anyone practice it? Even those with other divine body foundations can practice it. Hearing this, Yichun finally exhaled in relief. At least this meant he could practice this set of skills alongside the icebound divine body. As for the difficulty in understanding the skills, that wasn't Yichun's primary concern. After all, Yichun could still cultivate the icebound divine body. Even if this set of skills couldn't be practiced completely, being able to strengthen it to a certain extent was quite good. Let's take a good look at this set of skills and the chambers further back before making a decision. Yichun thoroughly examined the inscriptions on the stele in front of him. Since each person could only choose one chamber to practice in, Yichun would certainly not make a hasty decision. He had to carefully make his selection. While Yichun was choosing a chamber, Tianli, Zhao Xian, and 4 young descendants of the great general frequently glanced over at him. Seeing that Yichun was continuously discussing with the Spirit Light Child through sound transmission, obviously interested in chamber number 81, Tianli became increasingly anxious. What Tianli wanted the most was chamber number 81. Unfortunately, Yichun was making his selection before him. If Yichun chose it, then he would have no hope left. It's over. I completely forgot about the reminder from the Spirit Light Child. This Yichun, having obtained a 62-star Spirit Light Child, must be incredibly clever, knowing a great deal. It's likely that it has told Yichun a lot about the undying divine body. Tianli's feelings became worse, and his heart grew even more worried. It wasn't until he saw Yichun walk away from chamber number 81 towards the chambers further back that his heart finally eased a little. The time of 1 incense stick quickly passed. After the time to view the 88 training chambers ended, everyone returned to the side hall they had been in before. Brother Yichun, have you picked a chamber to your liking? Whispered Fang Hua to Yichun through sound transmission from the crowd. Yichun smiled and nodded. He truly had several options in mind, but had to first see the choice of the little provincial princess, who ranked before him. Seeing Yichun's expression, Fang Hua was filled with envy. Brother Yichun, you ranked second in the test and can choose second, so you have many options for the chambers. I'm ranked 37th, and I'm afraid I won't be able to choose a very precious chamber, Sai. Everyone must have their eye on a chamber, right? Seeing that all the martial artists had returned to the side hall, God King Wuzan said with a smile, Now then, let's decide your training chambers in the order of selection. First up, the little provincial princess, come and make your chamber selection. God King Wuzan directly addressed the little provincial princess. Yichun also looked towards the little provincial princess. What he wanted the most was chamber number 81, recommended by the Spirit Light Child, which contained the first 3 volumes of the Undying Divine Body. However, if the little provincial princess chose that chamber, he could only choose his second preference, chamber number 87. Yet the little provincial princess, with a mischievous twinkle in her eyes, glanced at divine venerable Hong Zhu beside her and said, "I choose chamber number 88. Chamber number 88. Not chamber number 81. A weight lifted from Yi Chen's heart. Chamber number 88 contained a set of divine body cultivation skills called Purple Flame Divine Body. Yi Chen had noticed during his previous observations that this set of skills was particularly suitable for female martial artists to cultivate, and unexpectedly, the little provincial princess had decided on this chamber. Hearing the little provincial princess choose her chamber, God King Wuzan nodded and said, "Chamber number 88 can only be cultivated by one person. For this month of cultivation time, chamber number 88 belongs to the little provincial princess." Then, God King Wuzan looked towards Yi Chen. "Yi Chen, you're second in line. Now it's your turn to choose." When she heard that it was Yi Chen's turn to pick a chamber, the little provincial princess also looked towards him curiously. Meanwhile, the hearts of the other three young men from the great general's lineage, who also wanted chamber number 81, were hanging by a thread, and Tian Li was the most anxious, his gaze fixated on Yi Chen. As long as Yi Chen did not choose chamber number 81, he would be able to secure it next. But as Tian Li was gripping his heart tightly with tension, he heard Yi Chen say with a light smile, "I choose chamber number 81. Boom! Yi Chen's words struck like thunder in Tian Li's mind. It was over. The chamber he coveted for cultivation was gone. The other three young men were somewhat better off, as they had anticipated that even if Yi Chen didn't choose that chamber, Tian Li would have taken it first. With this in mind, although there was a slight change in their expressions, they were somewhat more at ease. "Hee, brother Yi Chen, you've chosen a good chamber. Just look at Tian Li and the others. They must hate you to death now. They certainly wanted that chamber." After making his decision, Yi Chen suddenly heard the little provincial princess's telepathic message. Little provincial princess? Yi Chen looked towards the little provincial princess, only to see the mischievous little girl wink at him. Turning his gaze back to the four young men, Yi Chen indeed saw that Tian Li, Zhao Xian, and the other two had unpleased expressions, obviously disappointed that the chamber they longed for had been chosen. Since only he and the little provincial princess had made their selections thus far, with chamber number 88 clearly being suitable only for a female martial artist to cultivate in, it couldn't have been the chamber these four men wished for. That left only the chamber he chose as the one these four young men desired. Seeing their expressions, Yi Chen could only give a helpless smile and shake his head. Naturally, he was not going to offer this chamber to these four. He wasn't close to them, so there was no need to curry favor, and besides, he also wanted to further enhance his strength in this chamber. Strength was of utmost importance. It was through strength that he, among the descendants of the four great generals, managed to choose a chamber first. Tian Li and the others were extremely frustrated. Even though their elders were a bit stronger than the Heavenly Cloud Venerable, they weren't that much stronger, and once they arrived at the Minor Pole Sky Secret Realm, they had to follow its rules. Besides, they had agreed to abide by the bet. They had not outdone Yi Chen in the previous tests, so they couldn't blame anyone else. Even though they were descendants of important figures in the Divine Kingdom, they had to accept the outcome. "Good choice. Chamber number 81 is indeed a very precious chamber," said God King Wuzan, nodding at Yi Chen's decision. God King Wuzan surely knew which among the 88 chambers was the most valuable. "Yi Chen, I hope you can successfully cultivate the first 3 volumes and have the opportunity to meet the esteemed Heavenly Cloud Venerable in the future," God King Wuzan said to Yi Chen with a smile. After encouraging Yi Chen, God King Wuzan turned to Tian Li. "Tian Li, it's your third turn to choose now." Tian Li, still wearing a look of dejection, could only helplessly state his second option. "I choose chamber number 83. Soon, everyone had selected their cultivation chambers. Most of the remaining chambers among the 88 were for group cultivation, and since the single cultivation chambers were all chosen, the selection process was rather convenient. After everyone was done choosing, God King Wuzan announced to all, Now that everyone has made their choices, enter your respective cultivation chambers and begin a month of cultivation. 1 month from now, we'll reconvene here, and I'll take you to the first location for the assessment and competition. You've seen how the ranking from the previous test determined the preciousness of your first cultivation chamber. So, you must work even harder during this month of cultivation, striving for good results in the subsequent assessments and competitions. Because those results will also determine the value of your future cultivation locations. If you don't want to end up selecting last again, then make good use of this month of cultivation time, and during the assessments, achieve your best results. Chapter 488 Myriad Dragon Cavern and Extreme Heaven Spirit List. The words of God King Wuzan made many in the crowd clench their fists. Even the younger generation of the 4 great generals, Tian Li, Zhao Xian, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin was no exception. These individuals had suffered due to their rankings at the first cultivation chamber, the 88 chambers, missing out on their desired chambers. Of course, they didn't want to continue at a disadvantage in the subsequent training. Yi Chun. Tian Li's gaze locked onto Yi Chun, thinking to himself, in the first test, I was defeated by you, and I didn't even get to choose the 80th chamber that I wanted most. In the following assessments and competitions, I must surpass you by far, and in the second and third training sites after that, I must choose before you. These individuals were secretly cheering themselves up for not having chosen their favored chambers, while many other martial artists, especially those from the lower realm, became even more anxious. They knew that once the 1-month cultivation time was up, if the assessments didn't go well, it wouldn't just be a matter of not being able to choose an ideal training site, they would be eliminated directly. To cultivate within the minor pole sky again would be out of the question. They had to seize every opportunity to make the most of this 1-month cultivation period. With various thoughts in mind, everyone headed towards their chosen cultivation chambers. As for Yi Chun, he walked toward the 81st chamber, accompanied by the Spirit Light Child, 62. 1 month of cultivation time, it's too short. Yi Chun felt a sense of urgency. Back in the Icebound Temple, it took nearly 2 years to cultivate the 810 techniques of the basic Icebound Divine Body, even with the acceleration of the flow of time. Now, with only 1 month to cultivate the Undying Divine Body, Yi Chun knew it would be difficult to reach a profound level of mastery, and he would have to make the most of this time. As he pushed open the door to the 81st chamber, Yi Chun found the chamber small, spanning only a few hundred zhang. But when Yi Chun stepped into the chamber and sat down at the cultivation stone platform in the center, he felt as though he was sitting in a piece of starry land amidst the cosmic stars. In this land of stars, there was nothing but countless vines growing endlessly upwards. Upon seeing these vines, a myriad of cultivation techniques started pouring into his mind. The cultivation technique of the Undying Divine Body is gleaned from the growth and immortal nature of the Undying Devil Vine. The cultivation of this technique involves spreading the undying factor throughout every part of the flesh, allowing the entire body to spontaneously generate the undying factor. The first 3 volumes of the Undying Divine Body, with the first being about connecting with the undying devil vines within the Undying Devil Vine Star, relating one's divine body with the undying vines. The second volume starts the actual cultivation of the undying factor. The techniques of the first 3 volumes of the Undying Divine Body flowed repeatedly through Yi Chun's mind, which became ever clearer. Yi Chun discovered that he had previously cultivated the 810 techniques of the basic Icebound Divine Body. Having once connected with the 9 divine ice stars, the methods of the Undying Divine Body had much in common with the basics of the Icebound Divine Body. Furthermore, after completing the basic techniques of the Icebound Divine Body, deep within his body, 9 divine gates appeared, identical to the 9 massive ice gates on the 9 divine ice stars. These divine gates greatly aided the cultivation of the Undying Divine Body. When Yi Chun began to follow the cultivation techniques of the Undying Divine Body to connect with the Undying Devil Vine Star, he felt the 9 divine gates open, sending his mind soaring through the cosmic stars. Yi Chun felt his entire being intertwine with the incessantly growing undying devil vines on the Undying Devil Vine Star, as if his spirit was gradually merging with them. In the end, he was completely immersed in this strange connection with the undying devil vine. If one were to peer deep into his body, they could even witness the shadows of vines within the 9 divine gates, increasingly distinct until they eventually manifested as soaring devil vines within the gates. As those soaring devil vines appeared within the 9 divine gates, Yi-chan, absorbed in his cultivation, was wholly oblivious to his physical strength growing with the power of the undying devil vine, which was steadily being integrated into it. Moreover, due to the fusion of the 2 divine bodies, this power was continuously growing exponentially. Bang! The days of cultivation were short. Completely engrossed in his cultivation and unaware of how much time had passed, Yi-chan was jolted awake by a sudden loud noise. The 1-month cultivation period at the first training site is over. Everyone, leave the chambers and gather in the side hall. The 1-month cultivation period is over? Yi-chan opened his eyes, somewhat surprised, as if he had just been cultivating for a short while, and it had already come to an end. A full month of cultivation time had completely passed. Swish! Yi-chan stood up. Upon standing, Yi-chan felt his entire body radically different than before. It was hard to describe the feeling, as if his body was filled with endless strength that seemed to continuously renew, grow, and replenish itself. The undying divine body. Over the past month, after I committed the first 3 volumes of the cultivation technique to memory, I focused entirely on cultivating the first volume, connecting with the undying devil vine star, within to channel the undying devil vine. I haven't even officially started the cultivation of the undying factor from the 2nd volume. Yet my strength has increased this much? Could it be that channeling the undying devil vine also enhances one's physical combat strength? Yi-chan was somewhat surprised, marveling at the progress he had made in just 1 month of cultivation. What he didn't know was that upon entering true cultivation, the mutual nurturing and connection between the 2 divine bodies had greatly accelerated his cultivation progress. He was also unaware that the foundation technique of the icebound divine body, comprising 810 forms, was in itself an extremely powerful and inclusive divine body cultivation technique. And when cultivated alongside another mighty and inclusive technique like the undying divine body, it resulted in unbelievable and wondrous changes. Explore more stories with Empire. I wonder, to what extent has my physical strength grown now? Feeling the surging physical power within him, Yi-chan, lost in thought, stepped out of the 81st secret chamber and headed towards the convergence area of the side hall. He had already memorized the first 3 volumes of the Undying Divine Body Cultivation Technique and had completed the connection with the Undying Divine Vine Star. Even after leaving the secret chamber, he could continue cultivating. As Yi-chan made his way to the side hall, other martial artists from the lower realm, young ones from the Divine Kingdom, the little provincial princess, and the 4 great generals' younger generations too emerged from their cultivation chambers. Some of them showed joyful smiles on their faces after sensing the progress they had made during the month of cultivation. Others had furrowed brows due to meager gains, and there were those filled with fighting spirit, eager to head to the first assessment site to test their improvements. Among the crowd, Tian Li, who had missed his preferred secret chamber because Yi-chan had chosen the 81st one, now had flames of combat burning in his eyes. In the initial physical strength test, I was stronger than Yi-chan. The first assessment site is all about physical abilities. I must leave Yi-chan behind in this first trial and no longer let him hold a position above me. When all the warriors gathered in the side hall, God King Wutsan, God King Lei Yun, and Divine Venerable Hong Zhu were already waiting there. Seeing everyone assembled, God King Wutsan, who presided over the first training site, wasted no time and immediately addressed the crowd. The month has ended, and regardless of your progress in cultivation, it is now time to face the first assessment. Now, follow me to the site for the assessment trials. The first site's assessment trials were about to begin. At God King Wutsan's words, a glint of light flashed in Yi-chen's eyes. Having obtained the first 3 volumes of the Undying Divine Body Cultivation Technique from this first site of physical cultivation, Yi-chan realized the strength of Minor Pole Sky, and he was determined to press on towards even more advanced training sites. Regardless, He was fully intent on succeeding in this first assessment trial. As a glint of resolve flickered in Yi Chen's eyes, the other martial artists also stirred, their gazes alight with energy. Even those worried about failing the assessment were fully mobilizing their spirits, ready for the upcoming challenge. The little provincial princess was the most at ease among them all. She had emerged from the 88th secret chamber quite relaxed, and in the initial testing of the 3 major life signs, her physical vital signs were among the strongest. Clearly, cultivating the physical body was no difficulty for her. All followed behind God King Wutsan, making their way deep into the Infinity God Temple. After about the time it takes to brew a pot of tea, they arrived at another great hall. And Yi Chun noticed that this hall was empty, save for a huge portal on the wall at the far end, beyond which seemed to be another world. Could it be that the site for the first assessment trial is through that portal? As Yi Chun speculated, God King Wutsan along with God King Lei Yun and Divine Venerable Hongzhu were already flying towards the portal. At the same time, God King Wutsan spoke to the assembled warriors. Inside here is the site for the first assessment trial, the Myriad Dragon Cavern. Let's go inside, and there I will explain how to undertake the assessment trials. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After speaking, God King Wutsan, God King Lei Yun, and Divine Venerable Hongzhu flew into the portal first. Myriad Dragon Cavern? Yi Chun whispered to himself and, along with countless warriors, flew into the portal. Once through the portal, Yi Chun found they were on a corner of a vast deserted island. As soon as he steadied himself, he heard terrifying dragon roars coming from deeper within the island. Is this deserted island the Myriad Dragon Cavern? Could it be that there are true dragons on this island? Shock struck Yi Chen's heart. What alarmed Yi Chun even more was that as soon as he arrived on the island, he felt as if all his true chi was restrained, as were his divine soul's sensing and attacking abilities. They were all completely inhibited. Only his physical body abilities remained available for normal use. Yi Chun also discovered a huge list hanging in the sky above the corner where they stood. Extreme Heaven Spirit List was written in golden characters at the very top. Chapter 489-. Slaying the Dragon. What is the purpose of this list? Could it be related to the first martial arts assessment? Yi Chun gazed up at the Extreme Heaven Spirit List, suspended in mid-air, contemplating in his heart. Like Yi Chun, over 8,000 martial artists from the lower realms, as well as more than 30 youngsters from the Divine Kingdom, and even the little provincial princess along with the 4 descendants of the great generals, all looked up at the Extreme Heaven Spirit List in the void. Seeing everyone fixated on the Extreme Heaven Spirit List, as if he had guessed what they were thinking, God King Wutsan smiled and said from the void, "You've guessed right. This Extreme Heaven Spirit List is indeed related to the martial arts assessments you are about to undertake. It's not just related to the first assessment. It's connected to all the subsequent assessments as well. Of course, the premise is that you can enter the subsequent assessments." Without waiting for the warriors to ask, God King Wutsan took the liberty of explaining, "This Extreme Heaven Spirit List will record your points from the martial arts assessments for ranking. Each round of assessment will set a basic threshold for points that you must exceed in order to advance to the next cultivation site. Of course, just exceeding the basic assessment points is not enough. You need to find a way to accumulate more points to elevate your ranking on the Extreme Heaven Spirit List. These points will not reset after each assessment. They will continue to accumulate towards your total in subsequent assessments. The next round will set a new threshold for points. If you've accumulated enough points in the current round, even if you perform weaker in the following one, those points might still help you pass through the other assessments. Points can accumulate?" Upon hearing this, all the warriors were inwardly stirred. Accumulation meant the more points one had, the better, as accumulating points early on would lay a strong foundation for later. For example, in this first assessment, if one far exceeded the required points, it was possible to pass through the next assessment without earning any points there. There were 4 more cultivation sites ahead, and one could not relax in any of the assessments to gain access to these sites. Naturally, this motivated everyone to strive their hardest to reach higher assessment points in each round. continually increasing their cumulative totals. God King Wutsan continued, "Your task for this first assessment is to enter the Myriad Dragon Cavern and to hunt true dragons within it. As you've already noticed, upon entering this place, your true chi techniques and divine soul techniques have been sealed. You can only use physical techniques. And the true dragon clan is famously strong in body. Thus, the dragon hunting assessment of this round is to evaluate your physical combat prowess. Remember, no matter what kind of dragon you kill, regardless of its level, every dragon slain gives you only one assessment point. And the requirement to pass this first round is to reach or exceed 100 assessment points to proceed to the second cultivation site. I can tell you that the second cultivation site focuses on true chi cultivation, which is crucial for many of you at this stage as your cultivation is primarily centered on true chi. Entering the second site could greatly enhance your true chi realm, boost your power of law comprehension, and even strengthen your true chi techniques. So, to reach the second round, you must kill at least 100 true dragons. The words of God King Wutsan sent shock waves through the more than 8,000 martial artists from the lower realms, and the youngsters from the Divine Kingdom were equally shaken. Hunting dragons. This first assessment required them to hunt true dragons, relying solely on their physical strength, with no other techniques allowed. Keep in mind that the true dragon clan represented incredibly powerful true spirit sacred beasts, with many heavenly saint realm true dragons and even divine and god king level true dragons among them. What shocked these martial artists even more was that such a formidable clan of true dragons had countless members corralled on the Myriad Dragon Cavern island for warriors to hunt. This was utterly terrifying and directly evidenced the formidable strength of Heavenly Cloud Venerable, the creator of the Minor Pole Sky Secret Realm. Seeing many people deeply shaken, God King Wutsan spoke again. Hunting true dragons is certainly not easy, but since you can only use your physical techniques, we won't make your assessments too difficult. There are no God King level true dragons inside the Myriad Dragon Cavern, and there are no true dragons above the fifth calamity of true gods. True god level true dragons are rare as well, with most being from the Heavenly Saint Realm. There are even true dragons from the Spirit Sea Realm and Rotating Core Realm. Of course, although true god-level true dragons are rare, they do exist. To successfully hunt enough true dragons, you must be careful to avoid these true god-level creatures and choose dragons that you are capable of hunting. This assessment tests not only your physical combat strength but also your bodily reactions, speed, and other capabilities. It even assesses your luck, as encountering a true god-level true dragon would be extremely unfortunate. Hearing that there were no God King level dragons, nor dragons above the fifth calamity of true gods, the martial artists breathed a sigh of relief. After all, the strongest among them were only in the later stages of Heavenly Saint Realm, and they could only rely on physical techniques. To deal with true dragons above the fifth calamity of true gods would certainly mean certain death. However, even without true dragons beyond the fifth calamity realm, they still needed to be very cautious. After all, there were true dragons of the true god level below the fifth calamity, and an encounter with such dragons pretty much meant no chance of survival. This assessment will not pose a life-threatening danger. The spirit light child that each of you carries, while recording your assessment points, will also be able to protect you from death once. Of course, once your spirit light child protects you from death, your assessment will end immediately. You will be teleported back here, and the number of true dragons you hunted previously will be your final assessment point total, recorded on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. This trial will last for 7 days. After 7 days, all of you will return here, whether Spirit Light Child transports you back or not, and the trial will conclude. Ultimately, your rankings and trial points will be displayed on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. Those who have reached or exceeded 100 trial points will be allowed to enter the second cultivation site for training. Those who fail to reach 100 trial points will be directly eliminated and transported back to the lower realms you were in before coming to Minor Pole Sky. Whether you continue to cultivate here or are eliminated and leave Minor Pole Sky will depend on the results of your trial. Now, everyone get ready to enter Myriad Dragon Cavern and start dragon slaying. After God King Wutsan finished speaking, he formed a gesture with his fingers, and a teleportation array appeared in front of all the warriors. Pointing to the teleportation array, God King Wutsan said, "This array will transport you to various domains of the Myriad Dragon Cavern on this desolate island. You might not sense its vastness from this corner, but once you are transported into the inner domain, you'll realize that the entire Myriad Dragon Cavern contains countless spatial domains governed by laws, immensely vast and filled with innumerable true dragons. 7 days to hunt down 100 true dragons. It all depends on your performance within the inner domains of the Myriad Dragon Cavern. Now, everyone, enter the teleportation array and officially begin your first trial. Dragon slaying in the Myriad Dragon Cavern. The 7-day trial starts now." As the words of God King Wutsan fell, the warriors took a deep breath and rushed towards the array, eager to be the first to enter. 7 days to hunt at least 100 true dragons, and to do so while true dragons of divine god level are present, using only their physical prowess to kill the dragons. It was indeed an extremely dangerous task. It was also about whether they could enter the second cultivation site and how many trial points they could accumulate for subsequent trials, and whether they would be eliminated from the competition. Stay updated with novelbin.com. Of course, this made every warrior want to make use of every moment, to use the 7 days wisely. Before long, over 8,000 warriors had surged into the teleportation array, vanishing from sight in an instant. Yi-chun, however, was in no rush to be transported. He looked at his spirit light child perched on his shoulder. "This little one will accompany me in dragon slaying, and can protect me from death once." Yi-chun then turned his gaze toward the extreme heaven spirit list in the sky, his eyes flickering with a sharp light. "I hope that after 7 days, when I return here, my dragon-slaying points will hold a high position on the list, laying a solid foundation for the upcoming trials." Yi-chun steadied his mind and prepared for the imminent trial when suddenly, a figure flew up to him. It was none other than the beautiful little lowly dressed in white, the little provincial princess. Seeing that Yi-chun was not in a hurry to teleport, the little provincial princess smiled lightly. "Yi-chun, you were just 1 rank behind me in the previous 3 vital signs tests. I hope that after this first 7-day trial, you can still be right behind me. I intend to take first place in this trial. I wonder, does Yi-chun have the confidence to claim the second spot?" The little lowly blinked at Yi-chun with a playful smile. Yi-chun hadn't expected the little provincial princess to come directly to him. Seeing her speak to him while the descendants of the 4 great generals, Tianli, Zhao Xian, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin, couldn't help but look over curiously, Yi-chun smiled wryly in his heart. He could tell that the 4 young men harbored fond feelings for the little provincial princess. That they would be uncomfortable with her attention toward him was a given. Yi-chun smiled helplessly, unsure whether the little lowly princess was being deliberate or genuinely wanted to compete with him. However, Yi-chun had no time to consider the thoughts of the 4 youths. He returned the smile to the little provincial princess. Since the little provincial princess is so confident in taking first place, then Yi-chun will strive for second. The little lowly princess gave Yi-chun a thumbs up. "That's the spirit. I hope you can deliver on your word. For this trial, I plan to slay 1,000 true dragons in 7 days, and I hope you won't fall too far behind me." After speaking, the little provincial princess gave a tee-hee laugh and swiftly moved into the teleportation array. Her giggling voice lingered just before she vanished from sight. To hunt 1,000 true dragons? This 12 or 13-year-old little lowly sure had grand ambitions. Yi-chun chuckled. After the little provincial princess teleported away, Yi-chun also prepared to teleport. But at that moment, Tianli, Zhao Xian, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin flew up and landed beside Yi-chun. Chapter 490 Misty Canyon. All 4 looked at Yi-chun. "Yi-chun, why does the little provincial princess treat you so well, and even made a point to bid you farewell before leaving?" When Tianli, Zhao Xian, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin talked to Yi-chun, it was awkward and depressing. They came to the minor pole sky partly for cultivation, but the more important reason was the instructions from their 4 great generals' elders to accompany the little provincial princess well. The meaning of the elders was clear. They saw that these young men were not much older than the little provincial princess and wanted them to build a relationship with her. Not to mention the instructions from the elders. They were already full of goodwill towards the little provincial princess. However, on the way to the minor pole sky, they found that the little provincial princess did not want to pay them any attention. Even when she did, she was always thinking of ways to trip them up, clearly not wanting them to follow her to the minor pole sky. After arriving at the minor pole sky, in the presence of countless other martial artists, she didn't give them any face either. This, of course, hurt the hearts of these four very young men, especially when compared to Yi Chen. The little provincial princess had no particular connection with Yi Chen, yet she looked at him with increasing respect. During the previous test of the 3 vital signs, she even spoke specifically to Yi Chen, which of course made these 4 young men, who were always noticing the little provincial princess, aware that something was amiss. When they spoke to the little provincial princess, she did not want to care. Yet she specifically took the initiative to converse with Yi Chen in various ways. The sourness in the hearts of the 4 young men was simply indescribable. Seeing the little provincial princess specially come over to say a few words to Yi Chen before being transported to the inner regions of the Myriad Dragon Cavern Island, made all 4 unable to help but approach Yi Chen, filled with both jealousy and envy of him. Why does the little provincial princess treat me so well? Hearing the words of the 4 young men and seeing the looks of depression and envy on the faces of these young men about his size, Yi Chen gave a wry smile. I'm not familiar with the little provincial princess and she hasn't been too kind to me, just chatted with me for a bit. Just chatting? I wish the little provincial princess would chat with me too. All 4 let out a lament. Seeing the expressions of the 4 men, Yi Chen felt a bit closer to them. Originally, Yi Chen assumed that these 4 young men born into powerful Divine Kingdom families would be like those young people from the Divine Kingdom, like Wang Xian, arrogant and unapproachable. He hadn't expected them to have this side too. It seems that they are just young boys of the same age as me after all, Yi Chen thought with a smile. What Yi Chen didn't know was that his performance in the previous tests, only surpassed by the little provincial princess, had thoroughly shocked these 4 young men. With results stronger than theirs, they certainly didn't dare to act arrogantly in front of him. Yi Chen, just now I heard you talking to the little provincial princess, saying that you're going to strive for 2nd place on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list? Out of the 4 young men, the youngest and most handsome, Tian Li, spoke up again. No matter how the little provincial princess treats you, this time in the assessment competition, I must defeat you and rank above you. In the previous test of the 3 vital signs, you ranked just ahead of me, choosing the 81st secret chamber I most wanted. This time, I will not fall behind you again. How about it? Do you dare to bet with me on who will rank higher on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list in the end? Yi Chen hadn't expected Tian Li to be so direct, challenging him to a bet on their performance in the assessment competition. Why wouldn't I dare? Yi Chen smiled and looked at Tian Li. What are the stakes? Tian Li said. If I win against you in the future, when the little provincial princess looks for you, don't pay any attention to her. If you win, I'll give you a set of powerful divine arts. How about it? Powerful divine arts? Yi Chen said with a light smile. Sounds like I won't be at a loss either way. All right, I'll take the bet. While Yi Chen was conversing with the descendants of the 4 great generals, the remaining martial artists who had not yet been transported were enviously looking towards Yi Chen. They witnessed themselves how the little provincial princess had just finished talking to Yi Chen, and then the 4 descendants of the great generals flew to talk to Yi Chen. The biggest figures of origin, all 5, were interacting with Yi Chen. This naturally filled them with immense envy. Some young people from the Divine Kingdom within the crowd were full of envy. They wanted to converse with these 5 people of great origin but couldn't find the topics or the opportunities. Alas, if only I had Yi Chen's strength that made everyone take notice at once. Otherwise, having contact with the descendants of great figures from the Divine Kingdom would help me greatly within the Divine Kingdom. The martial artists from the lower realm who had not yet been transported said as they flew into the transport light formation. No, I must also cultivate harder. As long as I have strength, even if one is born in the lower realm, one can still make everyone pay attention to themselves. Starting with this slaying dragon assessment competition, I must slay 100 true dragons and absolutely force my way into the second place of cultivation. Yi-chun didn't expect that his conversation with the little provincial princess and the four young men would cause such a great stimulus to the others. Having set the bet with the four young men and watched them teleport away, Yi-chun touched the spirit light child on his shoulder and walked towards the transport light formation. Whether it was about striving for second place, as he said to the little provincial princess, or the bet with Tian Li, Yi-chun didn't take them too seriously. Yi-chun firmly believed that while the outcome was important, the process was even more so. Obsessing over the result while neglecting or even impacting the process was a loss beyond redemption. Of course, he would give his all in this first trialing contest, and as for the final result, that would depend on what the ultimate outcome of giving his all was. As long as he did his best throughout the process, then whatever the result, he would have no regrets. Armed with the ice-sealed divine body foundation of 810 maneuvers, along with the recently cultivated undying divine body, not to mention the numerous treasures and methods I possess, this dragon-slaying contest will show just how many true dragons I can kill. A gleam of determination sprang into Yi-chun's eyes, and with a swoosh, he flew into the transmission light array. The next moment, the aura flickered, and Yi-chun had completely vanished. After Yi-chun had been transmitted away, there were not many people left who had not been transported. Within less than half the time it takes for a pot of tea to steep, the rest had also disappeared without a trace. In the end, the only ones left in this desolate island region were the three powerhouses: Divine Venerable Hong Zhu, God King Wutsan, and God King Lei Yun. Divine Venerable Hong Zhu gazed as the little provincial princess and the four youths, along with Yi-chun, were transported away one after another, then turned her eyes to the extreme heaven spirit list suspended in the void. I wonder what kind of results will be on this spirit ranking in 7 days. Which of those little fellows will lose, and which will win? God King Wutsan and God King Lei Yun also remarked with emotion. The outcome of the Myriad Dragon Caverns dragon-slaying trial is unpredictable. While those with great strength have the best hope of attaining a high ranking, inside the Myriad Dragon Cavern lie countless unpredictable events, as well as true dragons below the 5 tribulations that these youngsters can't deal with using just their physical abilities. It's really hard to guess the outcome. Let's see. In 7 days, everything will be revealed. After a flash of spiritual light, Yi-chun discovered that he had been transported to a valley. The valley was flanked by 2 toweringly tall and gigantic cliffs, which grew closer together the higher you looked, revealing only a sliver of sky at the very top. Enjoy new stories from Novelbin.com. The valley itself was extremely dim and filled with a thick, gray fog. At the moment, apart from him and Spirit Light Child, 62, Yi-chun couldn't see anyone else. Clearly, everyone had been scattered during the transportation, dispersed throughout the various regions of the Myriad Dragon Caverns desolate island. Master, we are now in the southern region of the entire desolate island. According to my senses, this is Misty Canyon, reported Spirit Light Child after assessing the valley's situation. Misty Canyon? Child, do you know the specific details of this place? Spirit Light Child, a martial artist's assistant for training and trial contests, was Yi-chun's only source of information in this unfamiliar locale. The child looked towards the deeper and darker areas of the canyon and said, Master, Misty Canyon has 3 living areas for true dragons at its innermost. The first area is inhabited by countless gray-winged dragons, the second by the extremely formidable ironclad war dragons, and the deepest part, the third area, is a gathering place for 5-clawed azure dragons. In the gray-winged dragon area, according to my unlocked memories, the strongest is a late-stage heavenly saint-level winged dragon. In the ironclad war dragon and 5-clawed azure dragon gathering zones, there are true god-level true dragons. Within the ironclad war dragon area, the strongest is a 3 tribulations true god-level dragon, and in the 5-clawed azure dragon zone, there is an even more powerful 4 tribulations true god dragon. Master, I am Spirit Light Child number 62, and although my unlocked memories rank second among all the children, they are not complete. there could be more unforeseen variables within. Master, if you decide to hunt true dragons in these 3 areas, you must be cautious. Master, besides this misty canyon, if you go 3,000 miles further north or south, there are several other true dragon territories, but they are just as perilous. Hearing this, Yichun nodded and took a deep breath in his heart. He had been told by God King Wutsan that the desolate island of the Myriad Dragon Cavern housed true god-level true dragons. Yichun didn't expect that in this misty canyon where he'd been transported, there would be such 3 and 4 tribulations true gods. It seems I can try my luck in the gray-winged dragon area. As for the territories behind it, I must be careful, he pondered. Yichun didn't plan to abandon this region to search for true dragons in other areas. Not to mention that other territories might be even more dangerous, just the narrow valley with no visible end in sight, and the narrow strip of sky above, would probably require a great deal of energy and time for Yichun to venture through. He had only 7 days to hunt true dragons, and of course, he wanted to use his time wisely, with no desire to forsake what's near for what's far. Let's go. Let's first check out the gray-winged dragon territory. A flicker of spiritual light touched Yichun's hands, and the defensive divine robe purple mist true garment spread out, enveloping both himself and spirit light child within its protection. At the same time, Yichun retrieved a mirror with a clench of his hand. This mirror, the Tongming mirror, was a divine artifact Yichun had obtained after killing the thin and fat saints in the 5 Elements Mountain. The Tongming mirror had miraculous tracing and concealment abilities. Considering he might need it in this misty canyon, Yichun took it out. Then Yichun strode deeper into the misty canyon. After walking about 5 or 6 miles, the canyon suddenly widened, and he heard countless roars of winged dragons ahead. He could barely make out numerous winged dragons, flapping their giant wings, flying chaotically through the dim canyon between the 2 mountain walls. Chapter 491 – Dragon Heartgrass and Dragon Blood. Looking at this scene, it was clear that the first true dragon region, the gathering area for the gray-winged dragons, was not far ahead. With a thought, Yichun flipped the Tongming mirror in his hand and shone it towards himself. In an instant, the Tongming mirror emitted a black light that fell directly upon him and Spirit Light Child, 62. At once, the figures of Yichun and Spirit Light Child disappeared from the area. What Yichun had used was the stealth divine power of the Tongming mirror. Back at the Divine Heritage Cave within the 5 Elements Mountain, the fat and thin saints had relied on the Tongming mirror's stealth divine power, and neither Yichun nor the 9 frozen guards had detected their presence. This stealth divine power had a significant effect in countering the Heavenly Saint realm. Unless one was at the level of a void heaven true god, it was very difficult for those in the Heavenly Saint realm to see through this kind of stealth effect. Yichun planned to use the stealth divine power of the Tongming mirror to conceal his form and brave the gray-winged dragons, gathering area ahead. After Yichun's figure had disappeared, only his murmurs could be heard in the void. Unfortunately, once this Tongming mirror is used, it can only last for 1 hour, and then it must fall into dormancy until it can be used again the next day. I need to make haste within this 1 hour. As his murmurs faded away, a hidden wave of void energy swiftly flew towards the front. Within the protective stealth light, after flying several miles, Yichun finally entered the gray-winged dragon, gathering area for real. Ew! Ow! Ew! As soon as he entered the area, Yichun heard the roar of winged dragons, loudly echoing around him as if they were detonating right by his ears. Yichun also saw that the area he flew into was teeming with gray-winged dragons in the sky and on the ground, densely packed everywhere. The gray-winged dragons, with their gray wings unfurled, were at least 100 yards long even at the smallest. The larger ones had wingspans of 500 to 600 yards, each possessing the combat power of the Heavenly Saint realm. With just a glance, Yichun could see that there were thousands of gray-winged dragons in this area alone. No doubt there were countless more of these dragons, hidden in even more secluded places. This area truly deserved to be the gathering ground for the gray-winged dragons with such an astonishing number of them. Although Yichun did not sense any true god-level gray-winged dragons in this area, with these thousands of dragons alone, He dared not act rashly and was still looking for an opportunity to hunt them. Otherwise, if these thousands of heavenly saint-level winged dragons attacked together, he would be completely unable to withstand them. However, observing these gray winged dragons, Yi-chun was somewhat surprised. These gray winged dragons are at the heavenly saint level, with even some at the advanced stages. Creatures of such level should possess high intelligence. So why do I sense that they lack spiritual wisdom and seem to only have their combat power surging? Yi-chun directly inquired to Spirit Light Child, who was hidden by his side. The Spirit Light Child transmitted his voice to Yi-chun. Master, it's not just here. All the true dragons throughout the myriad dragon cavern have scarce spiritual wisdom, possessing only basic instincts and a nature for slaughter. Otherwise, if they had high intelligence, it would be too dangerous for martial artists entering here. Martial artists with only physical prowess could not compete with countless shrewd heavenly saint realm beasts, let alone stand a chance in a physical combat assessment. Heavenly Cloud Venerable, who established the minor pole sky, once offended by the true dragon clan. Thus, he captured countless true dragons, placed them upon the myriad dragon cavern island, and erased most of their spiritual wisdom, leaving only their battle instincts for the martial artists entering minor pole sky to be assessed. So that was the case. Hearing the words of Spirit Light Child, Yi-chun felt profoundly shaken. The Heavenly Cloud Venerable was indeed mighty. To be able to capture countless true dragons and erase most of their spiritual wisdom was truly a heaven-reaching method. Heavenly Cloud Venerable, worthy of being a divinity of great prowess, was terrifyingly powerful. Knowing that these gray-winged dragons possessed little spiritual wisdom, Yi-chun felt even less worried about being discovered by them. Shoo! With the help of the Tongming Mirror's stealth, Yi-chun flew past one dragon after another, heading deeper into the territory. When Yi-chun reached the center of this area, he discovered that within the vast central region, there were many huge pits. Countless gray-winged dragons were ceaselessly flying in and out of these pits. Some winged dragons were even fighting directly within the pits, with blood splattering fiercely in combat. They seemed to be competing for something inside the pits. Let's go have a look. There was plenty of time left for his stealth ability, so Yi-chun wasn't worried about being discovered by the gray-winged dragons. Viewing the lively disputes over the pits, Yi-chun's figure moved, and he rocketed towards the edge of a pit. As he drew closer to the pit, he saw that it was covered in a thin layer of white mist. Peering into the mist, Yi-chun saw that inside these pits grew strands of fiery red dragon-shaped mystical grass. And it was these strands of fiery red dragon-shaped mystical grass that the massive gray-winged dragons were zealously fighting over. Find your next adventure on. Approaching the pit, Yi-chun saw a gray-winged dragon snatch a strand of the fiery red dragon-shaped mystical grass from within. Instantly, four gray-winged dragons launched an attack on it, trying to seize the grass from its grasp. In a moment, 5 gray-winged dragons were locked in combat. This fiery red dragon-shaped mystical grass. What is it? Why are all these gray-winged dragons fighting over it? As Yi-chun wondered, he heard the astonished cry of Spirit Light Child beside him. Dragon Heartgrass. This is Dragon Heartgrass. Heavenly. How come there's so much Dragon Heartgrass here? What is Dragon Heartgrass? Yi-chun quickly asked the child. The Spirit Light Child's bright eyes shone with excitement. Master, Dragon Heartgrass is a rare treasure found in the myriad dragon cavern. According to the design by Heavenly Cloud Venerable, when he established the myriad dragon cavern island, Dragon Heartgrass would appear within a certain territory of the island after a period of time. This Dragon Heartgrass is greatly beneficial for the countless true dragons on the island. These true dragons, upon consuming Dragon Heartgrass, can undergo a small-scale evolution, which helps enhance their strength. Most importantly, it can stimulate the birth of more new true dragons. The original intention of Heavenly Cloud Venerable leaving such a treasure was to maintain and increase the population of true dragons within the myriad dragon cavern, so they would continuously be hunted by martial artists who entered. At this point, the Spirit Light Child spoke to Yi-chun with even greater excitement. Master, I didn't expect that we would encounter the emergence of Dragon Heartgrass in this territory. Actually, In addition to its significant benefits for true dragons, dragon heartgrass is also highly beneficial for you, Master. Beneficial for me too. Yi Chen's heart stirred. Spirit Light Child? What benefits? Spirit Light Child explained. Master, you previously cultivated the undying divine body, and there are many methods to enhance the power of the undying divine body and accelerate its cultivation. One method is through the refinement of the body with dragon blood, which inherently has countless miraculous effects. Promoting the cultivation of the undying divine body is one such miraculous effect. However, refining the body with dragon blood is extremely painful and may even have significant backlashes. Hence, I didn't tell you about this method before. But now that dragon heartgrass has appeared here, it's different. If enough dragon heartgrass can be collected to soak in dragon blood, the backlash from the dragon blood can be purified. In that case, refining with dragon blood becomes a direct method for cultivating the undying divine body. Master, the appearance of dragon heartgrass here, especially when there are countless true dragons from which to harvest dragon blood, seems like a heavenly aid for you to cultivate the undying divine body. The excited words of the Spirit Light Child made Yi Chen's heart throb with excitement as well. Together with the dragon blood, the dragon heartgrass could actually help him cultivate the undying divine body. Yi Chen had never imagined that bursting into this place to hunt gray-winged dragons would result in such an unexpected find. If that's the case, then I'll collect the dragon heartgrass and hunt these gray-winged dragons. Yi Chen's eyes shone brightly as he instantly shot towards a giant pit. Standing in a corner of the pit, Yi Chen looked at the hundreds of fiery red dragon-shaped mystical grass, dragon heartgrass, within the huge pit, and then turned his attention to the relentless gray-winged dragons arriving to compete for it. Instantly, Yi Chen thought of a method to collect both dragon heartgrass and hunt true dragons simultaneously. Killing gray-winged dragons inside the pit, using the pit's cover and the magical stealth effect of the Tongming mirror, along with the attraction of the dragon heartgrass and the distraction from the ongoing fierce battles of the gray-winged dragons. He would certainly be undetected. No sooner said than done. Hidden in a corner of the pit, Yi Chen saw 5 gray-winged dragons fighting over another strand of dragon heartgrass, flying towards the top of the pit. Then, a new gray-winged dragon flew directly towards the pit. In an instant, Yi Chen struck like lightning. Chapter 492, The Roar of the Dragon Group. Boom! With the explosive power of the divine body, Yi Chen shot forward like a bolt of lightning, appearing in front of the gray-winged dragon in an instant. This gray-winged dragon was of mid-heavenly saint level, and Yi Chen had been able to battle warriors at this level with his physical strength alone ever since he had mastered the 810th form of the icebound divine body. Now, having gained new strength from the undying divine body, his physical prowess had grown even greater. With a surge of tremendous power, a flash of light from Yi Chen's hand sliced off the head of the 100-jong-tall gray-winged dragon. The first true dragon was slain by Yi Chen in an instant. Yi Chen had no time to relish the sense of achievement from his first slaying of a gray-winged dragon, earning his initial point in the trial. His mind acted instantly, drawing the dead gray-winged dragon into the ice-snow jade pendant. He then instructed the 9 icebound guards within the ice-snow jade pendant to collect the dragon blood from the deceased gray-winged dragon. At the same time, Yi Chen once again hid himself in the stealthy light of the Tongming mirror. From the moment Yi Chen made his move, to the lightning-fast slaying of the gray-winged dragon, to stowing the creature in his ice-snow jade pendant, and then hiding himself once more, all these actions happened in the blink of an eye. Countless gray-winged dragons were still flying in the sky, some embroiled in fierce battles, with none noticing what had just happened. Not a single dragon realized that one of their companions had died. Success! The plan had truly succeeded, sending Yi Chen's heart racing with excitement. Before realizing his plan, he had been worried that other gray-winged dragons would notice him and that he would provoke an attack from countless dragons. But now, having truly slain a gray-winged dragon, Yi Chen finally felt relieved. This method was indeed effective. Hidden away, Yi Chen finally had the chance to observe the gray-winged dragon he had just slain within the ice-snow jade pendant. Gurgle, gurgle. The 100-jong tall corpse of the gray-winged dragon lay across the vast land within the space of the ice-snow jade pendant. Pools of dragon blood flowed forth from the severed head, with the 9 icebound guards busily collecting this blood with spatial treasures. Dragon blood. Yichun felt that even though this mid-heavenly saint-level gray-winged dragon was dead, its blood was still pulsating with a heart-thumping power. As Yichun breathed in the scent of this dragon blood, the power of his undying divine body began to churn within him. Dragon blood does indeed stimulate my undying divine body. Discover exclusive content at novelbin.com. If that's the case, I should slay more gray-winged dragons to get enough dragon blood. The spirit light child had said that to refine the undying divine body with dragon blood, it was best to accumulate a sufficient amount of dragon blood. Hunting over 100 gray-winged dragons and using 100 stalks of dragon heartgrass might just be enough for the refinement. Having only slain 1 gray-winged dragon, Yichun was still far from his goal. Hidden in the vast pit, Yichun began to observe and target any lone gray-winged dragon that strayed into the pit without being noticed by the others. Thud! Another gray-winged dragon was slain. Thud! 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 3 gray-winged dragons perished. Thud! 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 Afterwards, even after Yichun had taken down 1 gray-winged dragon, 4 others discovered him. But before those 4 could even roar out a warning, Yichun swiftly killed all 4 gray-winged dragons that had entered the great pit. After slaying over 30 gray-winged dragons, Yichun finally decided to stop hunting true dragons. In one breath, Yichun had slain 38 gray-winged dragons of the heavenly saint level. At that moment, Yichun still hadn't exhausted his physical strength. He had a boundless force at his disposal. In this area where heavenly saint-level gray-winged dragons gathered, as long as he didn't face an attack by over 100, Yichun was confident that he could kill about 10 in one go. The undying divine body is indeed powerful. To think that just a month of cultivation could increase my strength so much. Yichun marveled to himself. Only in a real battle did Yichun truly sense the current extent of his physical power. Yichun understood even better now. It was probably his previous cultivation of the basic 810 forms of the icebound divine body that had enabled his second divine body, the undying divine body, to make such great progress. Such a pity! Such a pity! Yichun shook his head helplessly. I still have much more physical combat power, but the shame is, the Tongming mirror can only be used for an hour before the invisibility completely ends, and it can only be used again the following day. The reason Yichun stopped was that the invisibility time of the Tongming mirror was nearly at its end. Once the Tongming mirror's invisibility time ended, being exposed here would definitely attract the attack of countless gray-winged dragons. Although Yichun had one more card up his sleeve that he could use, which was to escape with the help of the ice-snow jade pendant. Doing so would undoubtedly alert these gray-winged dragons, and it would probably be impossible to quietly kill them while collecting the dragon corpses and harvesting the dragon blood afterward. These gray-winged dragons might not be highly intelligent, but their instinct for killing and alertness were just as present. Yichun would not take this risk before he had collected enough dragon blood. Since the invisibility time is almost over, it's better to start collecting the dragon heartgrass. Don't wait until these gray-winged dragons have snatched away all the dragon blood grass, leaving none of the dragon heart grass. With that thought, Yichun, still cloaked in invisibility, caused a stalk of dragon heart grass to disappear every time he passed by one. In a moment, no less than 120 stalks of dragon heart grass vanished from the massive pit, all ending up on Yichun. 120 stalks of dragon heartgrass accounted for a large portion of the several hundred stalks in the massive pit. The sudden disappearance of these dragon heartgrass drew the attention of countless gray-winged dragons flying in the sky outside the enormous pit. However, no matter how they observed, they could not see that it was the invisible Yichun who had taken the dragon heartgrass. After the time it takes to brew a pot of tea, Yichun flew out of the first gathering area of the gray-winged dragons and arrived in a safe zone outside. Soon after, the light of invisibility from the Tongming mirror completely vanished and entered its dormant state. Yichun, looking at the 120 stalks of fiery red, dragon-shaped, peculiar spiritual grass, dragon heart grass, in the ice snow jade pendant, and the surging dragon blood that the 9 icebound guardians had collected, now looking like a small lake, nodded in satisfaction. Rest up for a bit, and continue the battle tomorrow. After I've collected enough dragon blood, I can start to go all out, quickly kill gray-winged dragons and accumulate points for the assessment. Muttering to himself, Yi-chun sat down to cultivate. The next day, Yi-chun used the same method and killed another 46 gray-winged dragons. On the third day, just over half an hour had passed, and Yi-chun had already killed 29 gray-winged dragons. In a little over 2 days, Yi-chun had killed a total of 113 gray-winged dragons, 113 gray-winged dragons of the Heavenly Saint level. Previously, with just the basic 810 forms of the Icebound Divine Body, Yi-chun could not have reached such a level of combat power. Now, with the addition of the power of the Undying Divine Body, Yi-chun had achieved this great feat using just his physical prowess alone. Now, he had met the requirement to collect enough dragon blood. He had also achieved the basic threshold to enter the second cultivation site, slaying 100 true dragons. But it's still not enough. Yi-chun's gaze shifted towards the central area, where after a little over 2 days, dragon heart grass in the many enormous pits had greatly diminished, and then he looked at the spirit light child who was using the dragon heart grass in his storage ring, the heaven spirit ring, to purify the lake of dragon blood for him. Now that I've collected enough dragon heart grass and dragon blood, it's time to go all out and accumulate assessment points. I want to see how many gray-winged dragons I can kill when I put my full effort into battle. Have a good spree of killing, even if these gray-winged dragons become alert and band together defensively afterward. I can move on to further regions like the Ironclad War Dragon and 5-clawed Azure Dragon areas to hunt. Although 113 gray-winged dragons were enough to meet the requirements to enter the second cultivation site, Yi-chun was naturally not satisfied. Not to mention his bet with Tian Li or the competition with the little provincial princess for the second position on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. Just the fact that the assessment points could continue to be accumulated for later use meant that Yi-chun, in this first assessment area, would strive to obtain as many points as possible. Whoosh! Yi-chun flew into a valley where about 40 to 50 gray-winged dragons were gathered. He no longer hid his form, put away the Tongming mirror, and revealed himself. Roar! 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 As soon as Yi-chun appeared, the gray-winged dragons in this valley immediately spotted him, and their instinctual killing nature made them pounce on Yi-chun instantaneously. At the same time, the howling of these gray-winged dragons alerted even more, a few hundred to 1,000 gray-winged dragons that were further away. Those hundreds to thousands of gray-winged dragons roared furiously, and like a blanket blanketing the sky, they rushed toward Yi-chun. The real slaughter had begun. Chapter 493, Killing and Escaping. Whoosh! Yi-chun directly drew out the supreme treasure, the Black Fire Sword. This sword, ancient and hefty, was more suitable for slaying dragons than the Crimson Fire Flying Sword when true chi and divine soul techniques were prohibited. As he drew out the treasure sword, Yi-chun charged towards the 40 or 50 gray-winged dragons that were pouncing on him from the hollow, his gaze sweeping even further to the additional hundreds, if not thousands, of other winged dragons closing in at great speed. 10 breaths. In at most 10 breaths, that flock of winged dragons in the distance will be upon us. In these 10 breaths, I want to see just how many true dragons I can kill. As the thought flashed through his mind, the surging power of his divine body instantly poured into the black fire sword in his hands. In an instant, all 81 prohibition runes on the black fire sword lit up, releasing such immense power that it even stirred beyond the runes. Around the blade of the black fire sword surged strands of divine power light that tore through the void. The next moment, Yi-chun's step shifted in the void, and he swung his sword to slay the 3 gray-winged dragons that were the first to lunge at him. Puffed, puffed, puffed. In a single sword stroke, 3 massive heads of winged dragons flew into the air. At the severed necks of the winged dragons, dragon blood spurted out like fountains, spraying all over Yi-chun. At this time, Yi-chun no longer needed to collect dragon corpses and dragon blood like before, nor did he need to conceal his presence. He did not care about the dragon blood staining his body, nor about the 3 dead gray-winged dragons that fell beside him. In an instant, Yi Chun faced even more gray-winged dragons. Then, a dazzling array of sword lights burst forth. These 40 to 50 gray-winged dragons, even the strongest among them, had only mid-Tian Saint stage combat power and could not withstand the full force of Yi Chun's outburst. Not even 10 breaths were necessary. The fully unleashed Yi Chun took only 7 breaths to slay all 49 of the gray-winged dragons. The ground was now littered with the massive carcasses and severed heads of the gray-winged dragons, and dragon blood splattered everywhere. In the void, only Yi Chun stood proudly alone. Yi Chun himself was shocked by the immense physical combat power he possessed. Yi Chun had not expected that his unrestrained outburst would kill so many gray-winged dragons at once. Looking at it, after cultivating 2 sets of divine body strength, his physical combat power had undoubtedly reached the late Heavenly Saint stage, and even within that level it was not weak. Additionally, Yi Chun's divine soul combat power had been restrained, as well as his even more formidable true chi combat power. Now, adding up all of Yi Chun's true combat capabilities, he was probably very close to the supremely powerful late Heavenly Saint stage. One more breakthrough, and he might well be truly invincible under the true God realm. At this moment, after slaying 49 gray-winged dragons, Yi Chun was covered in dragon blood. The dark red fresh blood splattered on him, making the battle fervor within Yi Chun surge even more. Seeing the hundreds, if not thousands, more gray-winged dragons densely hurtling towards him, and even more gray-winged dragons in the far distance becoming fully alerted, it seemed the next moment he would be completely engulfed by this legion of winged dragons engulfing the skies. But Yi Chun's eyes held not a trace of fear. Instead, his killing intent grew even stronger. Come on. This time, although I'm absolutely no match for so many gray-winged dragons, killing one more means earning one more. Let's see how many more it takes before they force me into the ice snow jade pendant. Yi Chun stood in the void, wielding the black fire sword, facing the multitudes of gray-winged dragons surging towards him from all sides. The next moment, Yi Chun's small silhouette was engulfed by the sky full of gray-winged dragons. Read exclusive adventures at novelbin.com. Yi Chun continuously dodged and weaved among the shadows of the overwhelming gray-winged dragons, avoiding those he did not have the confidence to completely eliminate with one slash, the late Tian Saint stage powerful gray-winged dragons. Meanwhile, he slashed directly at the weaker gray-winged dragons. Puffed, puffed, puffed. With each flicker of sword light, another gray-winged dragon was slain, plummeting from the sky, and the total number of true dragons that Yi Chun had killed gradually increased from 160 to 200 to 220. When Yi Chun killed his 225th gray-winged dragon, the flock that sensed something amiss began to flee, with the weaker gray-winged dragons scattering outward. And then, 8 incredibly powerful gray-winged dragons of the late Heavenly Saint stage simultaneously launched an assault on Yi Chun from all directions. Seeing these 8 gray-winged dragons attacking together with flawless coordination, Yi Chun knew that his satisfying spree of slaughter was probably coming to an end. If his true chi techniques and divine soul abilities were still available, Yi Chun would dare to battle these 8 mighty gray-winged dragons. But now that he could only rely on his physical body's techniques, he was absolutely no match for the joint attack of these 8 formidable late Heavenly Saint stage gray-winged dragons. Enough! Having killed 225 of them has already far exceeded my expectations. Let today's carnage end here. Yi Chun burst into laughter and was just about to flee into the ice snow jade pendant when suddenly, a piercing screech rang out in the sky. The next moment, Yi Chun saw all 8 of the attacking gray-winged dragons halt their assault, as countless gray-winged dragons turned their gaze towards a certain area in the distance. When Yi Chun looked towards the source of the screeching sound, he saw an enormous winged dragon, larger than all of the gray-winged dragons, flying toward him. This colossal winged dragon's wings were no longer gray but were instead an incredibly strange blood-red color, and its presence had reached a level that made even Yi Chun feel frightened. The realm of the ethereal true god. This was a true god-level winged dragon, and at least one that had survived 2 tribulations. Didn't the spirit light child say that in this first gray-winged dragon zone, the strongest were only supposed to be late heavenly saint stage? Why is there a true god-level winged dragon here? And with such bizarre blood-red wings? Yi-Chen instantly thought of something the spirit light child had said. The spirit light child may rank second among all spirit light children, but its memories were not fully unlocked, and there were many things it was not completely clear about. Obviously, this hidden true god winged dragon was an anomaly unknown to the child. Yi-Chen had not anticipated that outside there was such a true god-level winged dragon lurking. It must have been his slaughter that incited the unrest of countless winged dragons, leading to this dragon's emergence. Seeing the true god-level winged dragon coming towards him, Yi-Chen, with a drastically changed expression, didn't hesitate at all before bursting into the ice snow jade pendant to escape. His true chi and divine soul techniques were prohibited. He could no longer summon the true god talisman to fight. Otherwise, with the 2 true god talismans left behind by the true phoenix and Mulan true god, which still contained and used divine power, Yi-Chen wouldn't fear this winged dragon that was likely a 2 tribulations true god. But now, with only his physical body's combat strength to rely on, he was already having trouble with winged dragons of the late heavenly saint stage, let alone this true god-level winged dragon. It was an impossible fight. There was only one option left. Run. Whoosh. Having entered the ice snow jade pendant, Yi-Chen immediately transformed it into a gleaming point of light, ready to flee. To his shock, however, Yi-Chen discovered that the winged dragon's divine eyes were fixated on the point of light the ice snow jade pendant had become, and it continued to relentlessly pursue the glowing point. The ice snow jade pendant, being a high-grade space artifact, certainly wasn't afraid of destruction by this dragon. However, high-grade space artifacts possess little offensive power, so Yi-Chen could not use the ice snow jade pendant against the dragon. Should the winged dragon capture the pendant, even if it couldn't destroy it, he would be trapped in the dragon's grasp. In that case, he would likely have to stay trapped until the 7 days of assessment were over, and he would be taken away by the teleportation force. That would mean he would no longer have the chance to slay true dragons. Yi-Chen had only been in the assessment for 3 days and had only slain a little over 200 true dragons. Naturally, he didn't want to get trapped already. Whoosh! Seeing the true god winged dragon continuing to chase the gleaming point of light from the transformed ice snow jade pendant, Yi-Chen shot towards the deeper depths of the canyon at high speed. A bright point of light was flying ahead, with a gigantic and overwhelming winged dragon in pursuit behind. The scene was bizarrely disproportionate. Luckily, the flight speed of the ice snow jade pendant was extremely fast. Although the winged dragon was following far behind without losing track, it couldn't catch up. In the midst of this chase, Yi-Chen had already flown hundreds of miles, and he could faintly hear even more ferocious roars of true dragons ahead. Yi-Chen instantly realized that ahead must be the second dragon gathering area, the ironclad war dragon zone. If he continued flying forward, he would likely fall into a new group of dragons. In that ironclad war dragon zone, the spirit light child had confirmed the existence of a 3 tribulations true god-level true dragon, which might be even more terrifying than this colossal winged dragon. If he were chased into the ironclad war dragon zone, it would definitely attract the attention of that 3 tribulations true god-level true dragon. Chapter 494 – The Cave, the Strange Grass. Behind him, a sky-shocking winged dragon of heavenly saint-level caliber was in hot pursuit. Read the latest on. Ahead, an ironclad war dragon, also of heavenly saint level, was blocking the way, making it utterly impossible to break through. What to do? What to do? Countless thoughts flashed through Yi-Chen's mind in an instant, and the next moment, his gaze shot up above the canyon sandwiched between 2 true dragon territories. The only way out now was up. Whoosh! The shining light from the ice snow jade pendant, originally flying forward, suddenly shifted upward, bursting towards the top of the 2 sheer cliffs. Seeing Yi-Chen change his flight direction, the huge sky-shocking winged dragon behind him likewise changed direction, flapping its enormous wings to follow him diagonally upward, continuing the chase. While the huge sky-shocking winged dragon and Yi-Chen were still engaged in their pursuit, Deep within the gathering area of the second true dragon territory, the ironclad war dragon gathering area, stood a black war dragon, 300 zhang in length, its body covered in dark, rough skin resembling iron armor, thick with a sense of raw power and explosive force. Suddenly, it raised its head, looking in the direction of Yi Chan and the sky-shocking winged dragon. Despite being over a dozen li away, this black ironclad war dragon seemed to sense Yi Chan and the sky-shocking winged dragon. Looking towards this black ironclad war dragon, one could tell that this dragon's presence was even more formidable than that of the sky-shocking winged dragon pursuing Yi Chan, almost comparable to the aura given off by Mulan True God. This black ironclad war dragon was undoubtedly a true dragon of the three calamities true god level. It was indeed the strongest war dragon in the ironclad war dragon gathering area. As mentioned by the spirit Lightchild, the black ironclad war dragon stared in the direction of Yi Chan and the sky-shocking winged dragon for a while. Then, sensing that neither were invading its territory, it lowered its head and continued to rest in the valley, squinting its eyes. Looking into the valley where the black ironclad war dragon resided, one could see that no other ironclad war dragons dared intrude into the territory of this true dragon of the three calamities true god level. However, in a much larger and wider canyon beyond the black ironclad war dragon, the mountainous terrain was crawling with countless gray ironclad war dragons. There were even more of these gray ironclad war dragons than winged dragons in the gray winged dragon area, with the number reaching well over 10,000. Among them were mostly Heavenly Saint-level ironclad war dragons, and there were even many in the late stages of Heavenly Saint level. The sheer cliff walls of the valley Yi Chan was escaping through. Whoosh! Whoosh! With every flash of light, the ice-snow jade pendant propelled him several hundred meters higher. In just a few moments, he had ascended thousands of zhang, nearly reaching a third of the height of the two massive walls surrounding the fog-shrouded valley. Looking down, Yi Chan saw the huge sky-shocking winged dragon about 800 or 900 meters below him, still ascending. This sky-shocking winged dragon is really tenacious. Does it really intend to chase me out of Misty Canyon? Yi Chan snorted coldly, his intent set on bursting out of Misty Canyon in one go. Just then, Yi Chan suddenly noticed something about 200 meters above his head, on the left side of the two cliffs. A black cave wide enough to span several zhang. A cave! Having flown thousands of zhang high next to a cliff that soared tens of thousands of zhang, Yi Chan had never seen a cave appear on the cliff's face. Now, with a cave suddenly appearing above his head, Yi Chan was understandably shocked. But the next moment, an idea flashed through his mind. The cave is only a few zhang wide. I can fly into it, but the sky-shocking winged dragon chasing me can't. With that thought, Yi Chan didn't hesitate. He was curious to see what was inside this suddenly appeared cave and, at the same time, wanted to take the opportunity to prevent the sky-shocking winged dragon from following him any further. Even if there was nothing inside the cave, Yi Chan could still look for another chance to escape. Whoosh! Driven by curiosity, Yi Chan directed the ice-snow jade pendant and instantly flew towards the cave above his head. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chan burst into the cave. 2 breaths after Yi Chan entered the cave, the huge sky-shocking winged dragon also arrived in front of the cave. Of course, the dragon knew Yi Chan had taken refuge inside the cave, but its body, hundreds of zhang long, couldn't fit into the small cave of just a few zhang. Out of frustration, the huge sky-shocking winged dragon extended its sharp claws, reaching out to grasp at the mouth of the cave. But the stones around the cave entrance were incredibly tough. Even the immense sky-shocking winged dragon couldn't leave a single scratch on them with its attack. If Yi Chan could have seen this, he would have been extremely surprised. Even a sky-shocking winged dragon of the true god level couldn't scratch the stone. One can imagine what grade of stone it must be. After the sky-shocking winged dragon failed to break through the stones at the entrance of the cave and experienced surprise, it extended its claw, attempting to reach further inside the cave. Unfortunately, its gigantic claw couldn't fit. In the end, the sky-shocking winged dragon could only furiously guard the entrance, continuously screeching in rage. Yi Chan, of course, could hear the enraged screeches of the sky-shocking winged dragon. But at this moment, having entered the cave, Wai-Chun was not paying any attention to the sky-shocking winged dragon anymore. Because Wai-Chun discovered that this mysterious cave he had entered was extremely deep, and a secluded path inside the cave continued far ahead, as if there was another world hidden within. What could be inside this cave? The entire Myriad Dragon Cavern was created by the esteemed Heavenly Cloud Venerable, so why did he leave such a cave between these two insurmountable cliffs? Or was this cave formed unintentionally? Wai-Chun flew into the cave's secluded path while he inquired about it with the Spirit Light Child, who was purifying dragon blood within the Heaven Spirit Ring. A cave! Upon hearing Wai-Chun's inquiry, the Spirit Light Child flew out of the Heaven Spirit Ring and upon seeing the cave's immeasurable depth, also shook its little head. Master, I do not know what place this is. It is not in my memory. Seeing that the Spirit Light Child also did not know the place, Wai-Chun could only continue to fly forward, all the while on high alert. If he encountered an even bigger trouble deep within this cave, that would be terrible. As Wai-Chun flew along the cave's secluded path for what seemed like half an incense stick's burning time, and the distance covered must have been hundreds of miles, even Wai-Chun was surprised by the cave's depth, when suddenly light appeared ahead. As Wai-Chun was wondering what he would find ahead, he saw that the path ahead suddenly expanded, revealing an area inside the cave stretching 100 yards, right in front of him. And when Wai-Chun looked into this small space ahead, he was taken aback. This small space grew only one thing, and it was astonishingly like the dragon heartgrass he had collected earlier. However, the dragon heartgrass that Wai-Chun had collected was only a few feet tall, whereas this peculiar herb was a fiery red, dragon-shaped plant almost 20 feet tall, dozens of times larger than the dragon heartgrass Wai-Chun had collected earlier. Moreover, Wai-Chun realized that this enormous plant, also resembling dragon heartgrass, seemed extraordinarily mystical. Both the fiery red glow of the plant and its dragon-like shape revealed its exceptional nature. Wai-Chun could not have imagined that such an extraordinary herb would be hidden within such a deep cave. Spirit Light Child, what peculiar herb is this? Could it be also dragon heartgrass? Or is it a mutated dragon heartgrass? Wai-Chun stopped at the end of this secluded path, in the void within the 100-yard space of the cave, and looked down at the gigantic peculiar herb below, asking the Spirit Light Child once he summoned it. This! Upon seeing the massive herb that was dozens of times larger than the normal dragon heartgrass, Spirit Light Child's face showed an incredulous expression. Master, this is the Dragon Heart Grass King. Dragon Heart Grass King. Without waiting for Wai-Chun to ask, Spirit Light Child continued, ordinary dragon heartgrass can facilitate the evolution of true dragons, but for a true dragon at the true god level, ordinary dragon heartgrass is of little effect. But this dragon heartgrass king, it can have a huge effect even on true dragons at the true god level, directly causing true dragons of the true god level to evolve and transform. It is said that every time dragon heartgrass appears in an area, there will be one dragon heartgrass king. Unexpectedly, this dragon heartgrass king is hidden here. Dragon heartgrass king that meets with significant effects for true dragons of the true god level. Wai-Chun too was taken aback. The sky-shocking winged dragon of the true god level indeed did not vie for those dragon heartgrass. Otherwise, other gray winged dragons wouldn't dare to snatch food from under the claws of a true god winged dragon. Clearly, the sky-shocking winged dragon simply didn't care for the ordinary dragon heartgrass. However, this dragon heartgrass king would likely cause a fierce scramble if it appeared, not only from the sky-shocking winged dragon, but if the true god-level ironclad war dragon or even a deeper true god-level five-clawed azure dragon discovered it, they would definitely fight fiercely over it. Thinking of this, an idea struck Wai-Chun. He asked the Spirit Light Child, Spirit Light Child, would this dragon heartgrass king be of use to me? The Spirit Light Child shook its head. Master, dragon heartgrass is only used to temper dragon blood. Master can't use this dragon heartgrass king directly, unless it's used to temper true god-level dragon blood. If it's dragon heartgrass king that tempers true god-level dragon blood, then of course it would greatly benefit Master's cultivation of the undying divine body. However, acquiring true god-level dragon blood is no simple task. explained the Spirit Light Child. Just as Spirit Light Child finished speaking, Wei-Chun was struck by a bold idea. If he released the scent of this dragon Heartgrass King, then it's likely the entire Misty Canyon, where the three major true dragons converge, would be thrown into complete disarray. True dragons of the true god level would definitely come to fight over this dragon Heartgrass King. And it was even possible for them to engage in mutual combat. So, what would be the outcome? Could be that Wei-Chun, while the three true god level true dragons fought, might even be able to obtain some true god level dragon blood. With that thought, Wei-Chun immediately grasped at the void, directly capturing the 20-foot-tall dragon Heartgrass King into his hand. Chapter 495, Battle of 10,000 Dragons. Looking at the mystic grass in his hand, which emitted a fiery red brilliance and bore the shape of a dragon, Yi-Chun nodded. Dragon Heartgrass King. Unfortunately, without true god-level dragon blood, I can't utilize this rare treasure. Then, I will use it to create chaos in Misty Canyon. The next moment, Yi-Chun flew into the ice snow jade pendant with the dragon Heartgrass King, and then, driving the pendant, he flew out of the mountain cave. Outside the cave, the sky-shocking true god winged dragon, after having kept watch over Yi-Chun for a while and hearing no noise from him, although filled with boundless fury, could only turn and leave. No sooner had it flown hundreds of meters from the mouth of the cave than it saw the bright pinpoint of light that had previously been chasing it zoom out from the cave once more. This time, the true god winged dragon was beside itself with rage. Although its intelligence had been nearly wiped clean, its innate nature made it feel that the young man who had slipped into the bright light was definitely provoking it. It had slain many of its underlings, the gray-winged dragons, and had hidden away in the cave where it could not pursue. It had originally decided not to chase any further, but just as it turned to leave, the light flew out again. If this wasn't a provocation, what was? Ew! The true god-winged dragon let out a wild cry and burst forth in pursuit of Yi-Chun once again. This time, even if Yi-Chun hid in the cave again, it planned to stand guard for 3 days and 3 nights, ensuring the young man could not leave. Inside the ice snow jade pendant, Yi-Chun, seeing the true god-winged dragon chasing after him once more, laughed in his heart. The dragon Heartgrass King, in his hand, shook violently, appearing outside the jade pendant in an instant, and carried by the pendant, it flew rapidly towards the canyon below. The dragon Heartgrass King, hidden in a small space at the end of a secluded path in the cave, maintained its aura without seeping outside, making it impossible for the true god-winged dragon to sense it. But as soon as the dragon Heartgrass King appeared in the void, and its unique aura began to waft into the air, the true god-winged dragon became instantaneously exhilarated and let out a wild cry. Dragon Heartgrass King, a mystic grass of great significance to true god-level true dragons. To the true god-winged dragon, this was undoubtedly the most precious treasure. Sniffing this scent, it couldn't hold back any longer. The gigantic true god-winged dragon even forgot that it was supposed to be chasing Yi-Chun, its eyes fixed only on the 2-meter-tall dragon Heartgrass King being carried by the ice snow jade pendant diving toward the canyon below. The chase for treasure, the desire to become stronger, occupied all of its consciousness with one thought: I must obtain this dragon Heartgrass King. I must! The sky-shocking colossal winged dragon chased after the dragon Heartgrass King like a mad creature. This pursuit was even more ferocious than the previous chase for Yi-Chun, with its divine power starting to burn. As expected, the dragon Heartgrass King truly has a great stimulation on true god-level true dragons. Seeing the sky-shocking colossal winged dragon chasing after the dragon Heartgrass King, Yi-Chun felt not frightened but elated. And then, an even greater surprise was close at hand. In the second true dragon gathering area, the territory of the ironclad war dragons. The moment Yi-Chun had taken out the dragon Heartgrass King, the eyes of the ironclad war dragon, which was a 3 tribulations true god, went from half-closed to suddenly wide open, and in a blink, it was soaring into the void. Next, its divine eyes looked straight in the direction of the dragon Heartgrass King. Even though it was tens of miles away, the ironclad war dragon of 3 tribulations true god level instantly sensed the aura of the dragon Heartgrass King, and saw the glimmer of light from the ice-snow jade pendant carrying it downwards, as well as the true god winged dragon in a high-speed chase after it. Ew. Upon seeing a true god winged dragon in pursuit of the dragon Heartgrass King, the ironclad war dragon, who would not allow the treasure to fall into the hands of the true god winged dragon, let out a fierce roar. Its massive 300-meter body burst forth, speeding towards the direction of the dragon Heartgrass King. The great movement of the true god-level ironclad war dragon startled all the other ironclad war dragons outside, causing them to continuously howl and look towards their true god leader, inside the ice-snow jade pendant. As he saw the sky-shocking colossal winged dragon crazily pursuing and heard the true god-level ironclad war dragon roaring as it also flew towards this area, and as the two true god-level true dragons were about to meet in a clash, Yi Chen's heart also started thumping wildly. What he was waiting for was the slaughter between these true god-level true dragons over the dragon Heartgrass King. Now the slaughter was about to commence. At this time, Yi Chen boosted the strength of the two true god-level true dragons. Yi Chen directly tossed the dragon Heartgrass King into the void, letting it fall through empty space. Then, Yi Chen, using the power of the ice-snow jade pendant, flew to the side to calmly observe the changes in the battlefield. Roar! Roar! The sight of the dragon Heartgrass King within easy reach drove the sky-shocking winged dragon mad. It furiously flapped its massive wings, attempting to snatch the dragon Heartgrass King into its mouth. Just as it was about to succeed, the air in the void violently trembled, and the void was torn apart. A 500-jong-long, 5-clawed azure dragon burst forth from the void, grabbing one of the sky-shocking winged dragon's wings in its claw. Then, the huge 5-clawed azure dragon, with a fierce swipe of its claw, tossed the true god-level sky-shocking winged dragon hundreds of zhong away. After that, the other claw of the azure true dragon also reached out towards the dragon Heartgrass King. The one who intervened was not the upcoming Three Tribulations true god, ironclad war dragon, but the 5-clawed azure dragon of 4 Tribulations true god level from the deepest part of the true dragon gathering area. Even the 4 Tribulations true god level 5-clawed azure dragon, hundreds of miles away, was summoned by the dragon Heartgrass King. It had arrived even faster than the 3 Tribulations true god level ironclad war dragon. Yi Chen was also surprised as he watched the 5-clawed azure dragon, who with one move overturned the sky-shocking winged dragon. It was 500 zhong long, with 2 dragon horns, and an extraordinary aura. The 3rd true god-level true dragon had also arrived. Your next journey awaits at Novelbin.com. They're all here. They're all here. Yi Chen's eyes sparkled. However, this 4 Tribulations true god-level 5-clawed azure dragon seems much more formidable than the sky-shocking winged dragon. I fear the winged dragon is no match for the azure dragon. While Yi Chen was observing the evolving situation, the sky-shocking winged dragon, sent flying by the 5-clawed azure dragon, was unwilling to let the dragon Heartgrass King fall into the azure dragon's clutches. Even though it feared the mighty azure dragon, it still attacked the 5-clawed azure dragon with a frenzy. Moreover, the sky-shocking winged dragon let out several thunderous roars into the void, which traveled crazily toward the first true dragon gathering area, the gray-winged dragon settlement. Upon hearing this formidable roar, thousands of gray-winged dragons were mobilized and took to the sky in a massive swarm, heading toward the location of the sky-shocking winged dragon. The group of gray-winged dragons was fully mobilized by the sky-shocking winged dragon, all joining the great battle for the dragon Heartgrass King. As the swarm of gray-winged dragons blanketed the sky-shocking winged dragon had already reached the 5-clawed azure dragon. It flapped its wings fiercely, sending countless sharp, sword-like bolts of air blasting toward the azure dragon's body. The 5-clawed azure dragon, just after securing the dragon Heartgrass King, sensed the sky-shocking winged dragon's attack and let out a furious roar. Twisting its massive body, it turned to bite at the sky-shocking winged dragon's head. But as it was about to bite down, its massive jaws were suddenly grabbed by 2 incredibly strong claws. It was the 3 Tribulations true god, ironclad war dragon, that had finally made its move. Seeing the sky-shocking winged dragon at a disadvantage against the five-clawed azure dragon, the three tribulations true god, ironclad war dragon, directly joined forces with the sky-shocking winged dragon to take on the four tribulations true god level five-clawed azure dragon. Three true god level true dragons had unexpectedly formed a 2-against-1 situation. Roar! Roar! The five-clawed azure dragon, being of four tribulations true god level, was far more powerful than the combined might of the sky-shocking winged dragon and ironclad war dragon. Seeing the ironclad war dragon intervening, the five-clawed azure dragon suddenly twisted its body, roaring and thrashing with its claws, clashing with the two true god level true dragons. 1 against 2. This four tribulations true god five-clawed azure dragon was completely dominating. And by this time, an even greater number of gray-winged dragons than had chased Yichun earlier had arrived, covering the sky. Ew, 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 ew. The sky was filled with the roars of gray-winged dragons. Amid their tumultuous cries, thousands of gray-winged dragons attacked the five-clawed azure dragon. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With a single swipe of its claws, the five-clawed azure dragon killed dozens of gray-winged dragons. But more of them, driven mad, continued to furiously bombard and bite at the azure dragon. And the two true god level true dragons, the sky-shocking winged dragon and the ironclad war dragon, with the joining of the swarm of gray-winged dragons in the fray, surged with divine true god power and clashed with the five-clawed azure dragon once again. Meanwhile, the three tribulations true god level ironclad war dragon let out a mighty howl. In the second true god gathering area, the tens of thousands of ironclad war dragons heard the call of their leader. Instantly, they rose to their feet. Then all the ironclad war dragons, in a frenzy, surged toward the battlefield. Chapter 496 Dragon Blood, Divine Blood. When the tens of thousands of ironclad war dragons also joined the battle group, the entire region of Misty Canyon had completely become an ocean of rampaging dragons. Dense clouds of countless gray-winged dragons filled the skies. The surging and roaring ironclad war dragons, numbering over 10,000, were filled with boundless strength. And in the core area of the great battle, the five-clawed azure dragon of four tribulations true god level was roaring up to the sky, fighting against thousands single-handedly. The ones continuously attacking the five-clawed azure dragon were the giant sky-shocking winged dragon and the black true god ironclad war dragons. On the ground of the canyon, with the dragon's slaughter, pools of dragon blood stained the earth red. Countless gray-winged dragons and ironclad war dragons died, and the besieged five-clawed azure dragon had also fallen into disadvantage, with terrifyingly huge bloodstains appearing on its body. Gurgle, gurgle. Drops of divine blood from the five-clawed azure dragon fell from its body. The fist-sized droplets of blood, emitting spiritual light, rolled onto the ground and, within a few breaths' time, did not disperse, and finally, they merged with the earth. As it merged with the earth, the dragon blood of the five-clawed azure dragon even pushed back the blood of other heavenly saint-level dragons. Clearly, the power of this divine blood was extraordinary, far surpassing that of regular dragon blood. Ultimately, the five-clawed azure dragon, having fallen completely into disadvantage, let out a skyward roar. In the third gathering place for true dragons, hundreds of miles away from the battle of the dragon hordes. In the gathering place of the five-clawed azure dragons, tens of thousands of them, upon hearing the roar, burst into flight directly toward that region. It seemed that the five-clawed azure dragon, unable to withstand the assault, was now summoning its fellow dragons to its aid. Merely dozens of breaths later, those tens of thousands of five-clawed azure dragons had joined the great battle. This moment truly shook heaven and earth. Over 30,000 true dragons were battling on this land. All for a mere dragon heartgrass king. Yichun, observing the battle from one side, truly saw what it meant to die for wealth, as birds perish for food. These true dragons, having had their intelligence almost completely erased, leaving only their instinct to kill, had been incited into a great battle by the dragon heartgrass king, and were fighting with reckless abandon. The bloodshed was even shocking to Yi Chun. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless gray-winged dragons died, and even more were injured, with broken wings and blood spurting like fountains. The ironclad war dragons and five-clawed azure dragons were similarly suffering heavy casualties, with corpses strewn everywhere. And the three true god-level true dragons at the very center of the battle were unleashing immense fury. With the joining of the five-clawed azure dragon horde, the true god-level five-clawed azure dragons, relieved of some pressure, went into a frenzy with their godly powers surging wildly, grabbing the sky-shocking winged dragons and the black ironclad war dragons, ripping wounds all over their bodies. This great battle continued for nearly half an hour. Eventually, tens of thousands of true dragons lay dead on the field, with countless more injured. A small portion of the true dragons, stimulated by the soaring bloodlust and unable to bear it any longer, disregarded their leaders' calls and retreated explosively back to their respective territories. And at the very center of the great battle, those three true god-level true dragons were also severely wounded. The five-clawed azure dragon of four tribulations true god level, however, had the last laugh. Its body covered with numerous wounds each dozens of feet long, with rolling divine blood streaming down, forming pools of blood on the ground. But its two opponents, the ironclad war dragon and the sky-shocking winged dragon of three tribulations true god level, were even more gravely injured. One of the wings of the sky-shocking winged dragon was almost entirely shredded, and the ironclad war dragon, with its iron-like dark flesh, was torn open in several places, revealing many horrifyingly large wounds. These two true god-level true dragons, their vitality severely depleted, had fallen to the late stages of the heavenly saint level and could no longer fight the five-clawed azure dragon. The two true god-level true dragons, looking at the dragon Heartgrass King, still in the grasp of the five-clawed azure dragon, then at the dead or fled and the many injured true dragons left on the field, and seeing the still first tribulation true god-level aura of the five-clawed azure dragon, no longer dared to continue the fight. All they could do was let out a sharp cry before giving up. And the five-clawed azure dragon, although grievously wounded, still laughed last, for it had obtained the dragon Heartgrass King. The five-clawed azure dragon roared up to the sky, as if it were the ruler of this world. Clutching the dragon Heartgrass King in its talons and seeing its two true god-level adversaries no longer daring to attack it, it prepared to triumphantly return home. The battle, it appeared, was about to conclude with the victory of the five-clawed azure dragon. At this moment, however, that tiny glint of light, which had been hiding on the sidelines and had gone completely unnoticed by the dragons embroiled in the fierce battle, stirred once again. It was Yi Chun who had been manipulating the ice snow jade pendant, springing into action once more. Yi Chun had not expected that tens of thousands of true dragons from the three major dragon groups would battle to such extremes over a single dragon Heartgrass King. Indeed, true dragons, stripped of most of their spiritual intelligence and left only with their nature, had nothing but this instinct for slaughter and the struggle for treasures. Seeing the true dragons either dead or crippled, Yi Chun certainly wasn't going to miss this critical opportunity. Now was not the time to lament for these true dragons. Captured by the heavenly cloud venerable, stripped of much of their intellect, whether they died now or later, their fate was the same. Yet from this Yi Chun was alerted. He needed to become stronger. Otherwise, if a powerful being were to erase his intellect, his fate would likely be even more tragic than that of these true dragons. To become stronger, the current method was to seize the precious cultivation opportunities within the minor pole sky. Killing true dragons to obtain more assessment points was now the most crucial task. The path of martial arts, filled with bloodshed and cruelty. At this time, Yi Chun certainly wasn't going to give these three heavenly saint-level true dragons any chance to recover. Otherwise, he might find himself struggling to kill these true dragons another time, and even with the ice snow jade pendant, a slight lack of caution could result in his death at the hands of these heavenly saint-level true dragons. Yi Chun, manipulating a glint of spiritual light from the ice snow jade pendant, instantly appeared above the three heavenly saint-level true dragons. In the next moment, he burst forth from the pendant. Upon seeing Yi Chun, the three heavenly saint-level true dragons still not entirely free of their murderous aura, all turned their attention to him. Their instinctive drive to kill even made their divine eyes brim with murderous intent. Without waiting for the 3 heavenly saint-level true dragons to strike, Yi-chan clenched his hand, and a magical treasure appeared in his palm. This magical treasure was 9 ice-white pearls, which were none other than the heavenly thunder pearls. A powerful one-time offensive treasure that Yi-chan had acquired in the Divine Heritage Cave, after slaying the fat and skinny Holy Ones. The heavenly thunder pearls were forged by a great divine practitioner using 9 heavens' true thunder. If all 9 pearls were unleashed together, even a true dragon facing the first tribulation could be gravely injured or killed. Previously, facing the sky-shocking winged dragon with strength surpassing a first tribulation true god, as well as the ironclad war dragon and the 5-clawed azure dragon of the 3 and 4 tribulations, respectively. Taking out the heavenly thunder pearls was obviously futile. But now, these 3 heavenly saint-level true dragons had fought each other to a devastating extent. Even the most formidable 5-clawed azure dragon had seen its strength fall to the level of a true god facing the first tribulation. The heavenly thunder pearls finally had their chance to shine. Enjoy new tales from Novelbin.com. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Yi-chan, in an instant, flicked his fingers, and the 9 heavenly thunder pearls instantly formed a heavenly thunder formation, enveloping the 3 heavenly saint-level true dragons within. Then, earth-shattering explosions sounded from within the formation as Yi-chan watched countless thunderstorms, each a yard thick, tear through and explode wildly, directing all their force at the 3 true dragons. The 3 true dragons were completely caught off guard by such a treasure in Yi-chan's possession. Slightly delayed in their reaction, they were engulfed by the exploding force of the heavenly thunder pearls. In the instant explosion of thunderous power, they had no time to dodge. In the next moment, the 3 heavenly saint-level true dragons were blasted apart in different directions, before thunderously crashing to the ground. Under the destructive force of the 9 heavenly thunder pearls, the sky-shocking giant winged dragon had both wings completely blown off and was directly killed by the pearls, which had the power to severely wound a true god facing the first tribulation. The other 2 heavenly saint-level true dragons, the 5-clawed azure dragon and the black ironclad war dragon, were not instantly killed, but the ironclad war dragon had been utterly knocked unconscious by the blast, and the 5-clawed azure dragon, although its divine eyes were still open, showed a look of terror in its gaze. The next moment, the black fire sword suddenly appeared in Yi-chan's hand as he shot towards the yet unconscious 5-clawed azure dragon. Thrust. With one sword strike, the dragon's head was severed, and divine blood gushed out. Yi-chan stepped through the void, and with another sword strike, he slashed towards the faint ironclad war dragon. With the surging power of his ice-forged divine body and immortal divine body infused into the black fire sword, he pierced through the thick hide of the ironclad war dragon, completely decapitating it as well. And the next moment, Yi-chan's gaze shifted towards the thousands of the 3 types of true dragons still screaming in agony in the area, his sword flashing with renewed brilliance. As 62, the spiritual light child that flew out from Yi-chan's heaven spirit ring, looked upon the fallen 3 mighty true gods and then at the several thousand injured gray-winged dragons, ironclad war dragons, and 5-clawed azure dragons. The child exclaimed in shock, "Master, with this strike, you might just set a record for slaughtering true dragons in the Myriad Dragon Cavern." Chapter 497, The Turmoil of the Extreme Heaven Spirit List. The first trial's assessment, spanning a period of 7 days, swiftly came to an end. In a corner of the Myriad Dragon Cavern Mystic Island, many candidates failed the assessment over these 7 days, brought out by the Spirit Light Child and returned to the departure point of this locale. Find more chapters on. This signified that they didn't survive the 7-day assessment period and were slain by true dragons during the trial, thus concluding their assessment. If it weren't for the Spirit Light Child's intervention to shield them from death once, it would mean that they had perished in the trial of the Myriad Dragon Cavern. As these candidates were sent out, God King Wutsan, who was waiting outside, directed the spirit light child that accompanied these candidates to fly into the extreme heaven spirit list that hovered in the void. When the spirit light child flew into the extreme heaven spirit list and emerged once again, their master scores were already recorded on the extreme heaven spirit list. Morong Xiao Xiao, from Black Dragon Star. Assessment points, 262. Wutsan, from Divine Kingdom's East Province, Aoshan Divine City. Assessment points, 241. Zhao Xian, from Heaven Martial Star. Assessment points, 192. The scores on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list were arranged from highest to lowest. And as more and more individuals were sent out from the Myriad Dragon Cavern assessment area, the rankings on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list kept changing. Among those sent out in the first 7 days, especially those eliminated within the first 3 days, the vast majority had not slain 100 true dragons. All of them sat in the desolate island corner, pale-faced. Not slaying 100 true dragons meant that their opportunity to cultivate in Minor Polsky had come to an end. They couldn't advance to the second cultivation locale, which of course left many hearts shattered, as they had already witnessed the wonders of Minor Polsky. But there was nothing they could do. Failing to pass the assessment, they could only leave after the 7 days were up. Now they could only wait idly. Once everyone returned, they would be transported back. These candidates were disheartened, but those who had managed to slay 100 true dragons were chatting excitedly. I can finally break into the second cultivation locale. The second cultivation locale is for true chi cultivation. Inside, my true chi realm might very well increase significantly. I wonder how one cultivates in the second locale. I'm so eager to see it for myself. Most of their casual conversations revolved around slaying dragons inside the Myriad Dragon Cavern. Reduced to using only physical combat without any techniques, yet facing true dragons. That was close, I nearly didn't make it to 100. Lucky for me, I found a valley where the true dragons were of lower ranks, allowing me to smoothly take down over 120. In the end, it was a late-stage Heaven Saint True Dragon that suddenly appeared and eliminated me. Others said, I went through several tough battles, persevered for 5 days, and finally slew 200 true dragons. Now I'm ranked 16th on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. I wonder what my final ranking will be. When the conversation turned to rankings, many spontaneously thought of those who had excelled in the previous 3 vital signs tests. The little provincial princess, the 4 descendants of the 4 generals, and Yi Chun haven't been sent out yet. It looks like they'll endure the full 7 days and won't die at the hands of the true dragons. They'll only be brought out by the spirit light child when time runs out. I really wonder how many true dragons the little provincial princess and the others will have slain. Then there are those youngsters from Divine Kingdom. Out of over 30, only a few have been sent out so far. And from what they say, it was due to accidents. Some even encountered true gods amongst the true dragons and were instantly struck down and eliminated. Such unlucky souls. The remaining Divine Kingdom youngsters, who have not been eliminated yet, must have achieved remarkable scores. They are certainly capable of breaking into the second cultivation locale. All those who were prematurely eliminated were discussing among their respective circles. As the 7-day assessment drew to a close, the time came for everyone to be transported out. Over 5,000 warriors who had been previously eliminated all stood up. Even those warriors who had definitively failed the assessment and were ineligible for the next cultivation locale managed to suppress their sorrow and looked toward the transportation array. They too wanted to see what the final assessment results would be once everyone was transported out. Though they would be sent back, the events that had unfolded at Minor Polsky would serve as a significant experience, and upon their return to the lower realm, it would become a major topic of conversation. As all the prematurely eliminated warriors stood up to watch the transportation array, the divine Venerable Hong Zhu, who had been waiting outside in the void, along with God Kings Wutsan and Lei Yun, also began to chat with smiles. It's a pity we couldn't see the trials inside the Myriad Dragon Cavern. Otherwise, we could have known about these youngsters' performances in advance. Speaking of which, I'm really quite looking forward to the surprises these kids might bring. God Kings Wutsan and Lei Yun chuckled to divine Venerable Hong Zhu. Divine Venerable, the little provincial princess might set an amazing record this time. Her vital signs test for physical strength was incredibly strong, which clearly shows her exceptional combat capabilities. In this trial of physical combat, she is sure to slay many true dragons. Divine Venerable Hong Zhu smiled and nodded. I'm not the slightest bit worried about the little provincial princess. I'm just rather curious about Yi Chen's final results. Yi Chen. God Kings Wuzan and Lei Yun exchanged glances. Soon, they will all be transported out and we will quickly know Yi Chen's results. I should think he'll have no problem entering the second cultivation locale. It's just a matter of how far beyond 100 base assessment points he can reach. Chapter 498. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under the watchful eyes of 3 powerful warriors and countless martial artists. As the time limit for the 7-day assessment contest came to an end, the transmission light formation where everyone had been teleported into the assessment area was filled with innumerable phantom light silhouettes. Subsequently, a multitude of figures densely emerged from the transmission light formation, returning to their initial departure point. These people were all who had lasted the full 7 days without being eliminated. The majority of these individuals displayed smiles on their faces, clearly having successfully slain enough true dragons over 7 days to earn an opportunity to advance to the next training location. However, there were a very few with rather unsightly expressions. Although they had lasted the 7 days without early elimination, they had been too afraid to hunt and kill enough true dragons in the assessment area. Now, with time up, their being teleported out also signified their failure. After everyone had been teleported out, the majority of gazes were drawn to the most dazzling figures in the arena. These were none other than the little provincial princess, the younger generations of the 4 great generals of the Divine Kingdom, the youths of the Divine Kingdom, and Yi Chen. At that moment, Yi Chen was landing among the group of warriors from the lower realm, his face unreadable with calmness, but the spirit light child on his shoulder was grinning from ear to ear, unable to contain his laughter. Just by looking at the spirit light child's demeanor, all the warriors from the lower realm knew that Yi Chen's achievements were surely extraordinary. Among the crowd and most familiar with Yi Chen, Fang Hua, who was teleported out, couldn't help asking as Yi Chen flew down next to him, "Brother Yi Chen, how many true dragons did you kill?" Yi Chen smiled. "Not bad, you'll know soon enough. But, friend Fang Hua, you must also have slain enough true dragons, no?" Still playing coy, Fang Hua laughed. "I also killed enough true dragons, far beyond the basic assessment points." While Yi Chen and Fang Hua conversed, the little provincial princess and the younger generations of the 4 great generals were somewhat eager to approach Yi Chen and inquire about his performance. Especially Tianli, who had a bet with Yi Chen, was even more eager to know Yi Chen's assessment points. "I hit the jackpot this time, accidentally stumbling into a lair of juvenile dragons, and slew far more true dragons than I ever expected. Yi Chen's original combat strength was never as strong as mine, and he certainly hasn't had my luck. This time, I'm sure to far surpass him." Tianli looked at Yi Chen with a gleam in his eyes. Seeing that everyone had come out and many were still chatting amongst themselves, God King Wuzan smiled at Divine Venerable Hong Zhu and God King Lei Yun before stepping out from the void. His voice echoed across the entire field. "Now, all those who have not yet had their results logged onto the Extreme Heaven Spirit list, proceed to record your scores. Have your spirit light children fly into the Extreme Heaven Spirit list, and your achievements will be recorded there." As God King Wuzan's voice fell, many excitedly commanded their spirit light children to fly towards the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. As the spirit light children darted into the Extreme Heaven Spirit list that hung in the void and then flew back out, the rankings on the list began to change continuously. Jiang Long, from the multi-spirit divine city in East Province of the Divine Kingdom. Assessment points, 308. The first score to be recorded on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list significantly altered the rankings. It pushed down everyone on the list a spot all at once. And as more scores were recorded on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list, its rankings were in a constant state of flux. Yi Chen, the little provincial princess, and the younger generations of the 4 great generals, as if by some unspoken agreement, all delayed in having their scores recorded without any hurry. They were the 6 individuals who performed strongest in the previous 3 vital sign tests, and the others were not rushing them either, all wanting to wait for the end, to witness their astonishing achievements. After the scores of over 8,000 warriors from the lower realm, along with more than 30 youths from the Divine Kingdom were all recorded on the Extreme Heaven Spirit list, the top ranker was a young individual from Myriad Light Divine City in East Province of the Divine Kingdom, Zhao Ming, with assessment points reaching 356. Feng Hua, standing beside Yi Chun, also performed well, securing 235 assessment points, surpassing the basic assessment requirement of 135 points by a substantial margin. At this moment, all eyes turned toward Yi Chun, the little provincial princess, and the 4 younger generations of the 4 great generals. The 6 of them exchanged glances, and Zhao Xian said with a smile, "There are 6 of us left without recorded scores. Let me go first." The spirit light child on Zhao Xian's shoulder immediately flew towards the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. Finally, Zhao Xian's score was revealed. Zhao Xian, from Divine Kingdom's East Province, First Divine City, General Zhao's Mansion, Martial Trial Points, 569. When Zhao Xian's score was announced, the entire arena was stunned. 569 points, indicating that Zhao Xian had slain 569 true dragons with his physical combat strength alone. Next, it was Meng Qi's turn to record his score, and his result once again shocked the crowd. Meng Qi, from Divine Kingdom's East Province, First Divine City, General Meng's Mansion, Martial Trial Points, 568. The third youth, Hu Lin, had a score not much different from Meng Qi's, also reaching 572 points. Finally, Tian Li, who had ranked 3rd in the initial 3 vital signs test, also stepped forward and let his spirit light child fly into the Extreme Heaven Spirit list, smiling as he looked towards Yi Chun. In the end, his score reached an impressive 936 points. This score utterly surprised the other 3 youths by his side. Tian Li smiled as he glanced at the 3 youths beside him, nodded to them, and then looked provocatively towards Yi Chun. "I was quite lucky this time, having killed quite a number of true dragons. Brother Yi Chun and I have a bet. I wonder how many true dragons you have slain." Tian Li directly challenged Yi Chun. His astonishing martial trial score of 936 points had already shocked countless people. On the Extreme Heaven Spirit list, he surpassed the second-ranked Hu Lin by more than 300 points. Hearing Tian Li challenge Yi Chun, all eyes turned towards Yi Chun. The little provincial princess was also curious and thought, "A bet? What kind of bet do Yi Chun and Tian Li have?" Tian Li looks so excited. He must be certain he'll win against Yi Chun. Yet, looking at Yi Chun's expression, it seems like he isn't worried at all about Tian Li's score. Could it be that Yi Chun has slain more than 936 true dragons? As she considered this, the little provincial princess was also stirred. "I've killed more true dragons than I expected this time. I wonder how many Yi Chun has." The little provincial princess was extremely curious, as were Divine Venerable Hong Zhu, God King Wuzan, and God King Lei Yun, all of whom looked towards Yi Chun with great interest. And in that moment, under the watchful gaze of the multitude, Yi Chun smiled at Tian Li and said, "Brother Tian Li says he's quite lucky, but I've also been rather fortunate this time." As he spoke, Yi Chun nodded to the spirit light child, 62, on his shoulder. The ecstatic spirit light child, 62, quickly flew toward the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. Seeing Yi Chun's expression and the excitement of the spirit light child, Tian Li felt his heart sink. Could it be that Yi Chun has surpassed me? Otherwise, he wouldn't have that look, and his child wouldn't be so thrilled. But I've slain 936 true dragons, and luck was a big part of it. How could Yi Chun's slain dragons possibly exceed mine? Tian Li eagerly looked towards the Extreme Heaven Spirit list. When he saw Yi Chun's spirit light child enter the Extreme Heaven Spirit list and then fly back out, with all the ranks dropping 1 place, including his own fall to 2nd, Tian Li couldn't believe his eyes and had to rub them. And when he saw the number at the top, Tian Li was completely aghast. hearing incredulous exclamations from the warriors around him. Among these exclamations were even the voices of the little provincial princess, Divine Venerable Hongzhu, God King Wuzan, and God King Lei Yun. At the very top of the extreme heaven spirit list, in the first place position, glimmering in golden light, the following was displayed. Yi Chun, from Celestial Spirit Star, Martial Trial Point Score, 3969. Chapter 499- Chenya Platform, Chaos Begins. Yi Chun, Examination Competition Points, 3,969 points. This figure was simply beyond Tian Li's imagination. No matter how Tian Li guessed, he could never imagine Yi Chun scoring so many examination competition points. It was even more than 3,000 points higher than the score he was very proud of. He was ranked second, yet he couldn't even match the fraction of Yi Chen's score, 3,969 points, that represented Yi Chun had slain 3,969 true dragons. The true dragon is not any ordinary demon beast. It is an exceedingly powerful existence even among the true spirit sacred beasts. Many people in the field couldn't even come close to killing 100 true dragons, while Yi Chun had slain as many as 3,969, nearly 40 times more than the basic requirement. In the 7 days of assessment, on average, he killed more than 500 true dragons each day. This was simply beyond human imagination. Tian Li had also participated in the dragon slaying assessment, so he knew the difficulty of hunting true dragons. He had hunted 936 true dragons, which was extremely difficult, and only managed that by luckily finding a young dragon cavern. Tian Li had no idea how Yi Chun could have killed so many true dragons. When he looked at Yi Chen again, Tian Li's heart was filled with only one thought. How on earth did this guy do it? How did he manage it? It wasn't just Tian Li who couldn't believe it and was utterly surprised. Everyone else was too. This number was simply beyond everyone's expectations. At this moment, the little provincial princess, with her lively eyes, was also exceedingly astounded as she looked at Yi Chun. She had thought beforehand that Yi Chun might very well surpass Tian Li, and even conjectured that Yi Chen's number of true dragons slain could be 100 more than Tian Li's, possibly around 1,000 or so. But the little Lolita princess never thought that Yi Chun would actually kill over 3,000 true dragons. Keep in mind, the little provincial princess herself had incredibly strong physical combat power, yet at the beginning, she only dared to claim she could kill 1,000, not daring to say she could reach over 3,000. This brother Yi Chun, he has shocked me once again, said the little Lolita princess, tilting her head as she looked at Yi Chun. At the bottom of her heart was a thought. If Yi Chun did not reveal why he had killed so many true dragons after all the results were announced, she would go and ask him herself. The little provincial princess could hold back from asking now, but God King Wuzan in the void could not restrain himself any longer. God King Wuzan simply couldn't understand how a youth at the mid-spin elixir stage could have managed to kill over 3,900 true dragons. 3,900 plus true dragons. Within this number of dragons, there were definitely true dragon existences at the true god level. God King Wuzan had a premonition that, judging by Yi Chen's manner, he had likely killed true dragons at the true god level as well. At this thought, God King Wuzan couldn't hold back any longer and directly asked Yi Chun, "Yi Chun, how did you achieve this result?" After asking, God King Wuzan felt a bit abrupt and added with a smile, "Of course, there is no obligation to explain the dragon-slaying assessment process to everyone. I'm just concerned and astonished. If it's inconvenient for you, you don't have to answer." Despite saying this, God King Wuzan's gaze towards Yi Chun was still full of curiosity, clearly indicating his desire to hear the truth from Yi Chun. "Yes. How did you manage to kill so many true dragons? I'm so curious to know." 3,969 dragons, heavens, I was eliminated after killing just 93. To hunt 3,969 dragons, I'd probably die from exhaustion just from fighting. Not only God King Wuzan, but other martial artists were also curiously looking at Yi Chun. They wanted to hear how Yi Chun had created this myth-like achievement. Even Divine Venerable Hongzhu and God King Lei Yun watched Yi Chun with shining eyes, evidently eager to hear him speak in detail. Seeing everyone's expressions, Yi Chun had no intention of hiding the truth. All three powerhouses on the field were extremely curious, and he felt obliged to give them face. Yi Chun said with a smile, "The assessment area I entered this time was a place called Misty Canyon, where there are 3 major dragon gathering zones with 34,000 true dragons. I fortuitously discovered a dragon heart king grass and used it to trigger a great battle among the 3 dragon hordes, ultimately killing 3 heavily injured true god-level true dragons and clearing out other surviving true dragons, reaching this number." As Yi Chun spoke, the spirit light child 62 on his shoulder also chimed in. "The master is so formidable. Those 3 true god-level true dragons included 4 tribulations true god true dragons, but the master dared to initiate a battle with tens of thousands of dragons and decisively struck to kill the injured true god true dragons, even slaying all 3 of them." Yi Chun and the spirit light child made it sound simple, but when everyone in the field heard how Yi Chun killed so many true dragons, they all gasped. Easy to say, but doing it is another story. The martial artists on the scene had seen their fair share of turmoil and clearly knew how difficult it was to instigate a great dragon battle and survive it, let alone take advantage of it to kill so many true dragons, even those at the true god level. Even if the dragon group was wounded, without extremely high intelligence, predictive ability, combat power, and fortunes, it would not be possible. A little carelessness would definitely make them victims of the dragon massacre. Especially since there were 4 tribulations true god-level true dragons among them. Such beings would scare many present just by hearing about them, let alone plotting against them. They would have long steered clear. Considering this, countless martial artists grew even more admiring of Yi Chun. They knew that the young man before them was not only highly talented and strong, but also possessed incredible courage. He dared to kill true dragons at the true god level. He dared to provoke them. Interesting, very interesting. The little Lolita princess's eyes shone even brighter upon hearing Yi Chun speak of the dragon-slaying incident. She was already an incredibly intelligent and trouble-seeking young girl. Excited beyond measure at the mention of the myriad dragon battle, she said, "The Dragon Heart Grass King. I've heard of it. It's a pity that there's no Dragon Heart Grass King in my area. Otherwise, I would have initiated a myriad dragon battle myself. Such a scene would be astonishing. To witness it once would make my assessment trip to the myriad dragon cavern worthwhile." The little provincial princess was filled with excitement, when suddenly, upon hearing Yi Chen's words, divine venerable Hong Zhu's eyes glittered brightly, and she spoke directly to Yi Chun. "Yi Chun, would you be interested in visiting the first divine city in the East Province of the Divine Kingdom after you finish cultivating in Minor Polsky? I believe many important figures in the East Province would like to meet you." Directly inviting Yi Chun to visit the first divine city in the East Province of the Divine Kingdom. Upon hearing divine venerable Hong Zhu's words, both God King Lei Yun and God King Wutsan were taken aback, and the other martial artists were so stirred they couldn't find the words to speak. They certainly saw that divine venerable Hong Zhu was extending an olive branch to Yi Chun, seeking to bring him under the banner of the East Territory King. A junior cultivator at the middle stage of spinning pill, having only gone through 1 cultivation session and 1 assessment trial in Minor Polsky, had already attracted the interest and invitation of a divine venerable, a powerful figure of such high standing, and to the first divine city in the East Province of the Divine Kingdom no less. This filled everyone with admiration and envy towards Yi Chun. Even the more than 30 young people from the Divine Kingdom were extremely envious of Yi Chun. Although they were also from the Divine Kingdom, they did not have the opportunity to visit the first divine city in the East Province and meet the great figures there. When the little provincial princess heard divine venerable Hong Zhu's words, her eyes also lit up. "Right, brother Yi Chun, if you go to the first divine city in the East Province, I'll definitely have father meet you." The words of the little provincial princess added fuel to the fire, directing countless envious gazes towards Yi Chun. Even the younger generation representatives of the 4 great generals, Tian Li, Zhao Xian, Meng Qi, and Hu Lin, all lamented in their hearts. It's over. Yi Chun has impressed once again, and the little provincial princess will probably pay him even more attention now. Amidst all the gazes, Yi Chun just smiled. The first divine city in the East Province of the Divine Kingdom? I too want to see it, but after I finish cultivating in Minor Polsky, I need to return to Celestial Spirit Star for a while. Maybe I'll visit it another time. After heading to the Five Elements Mountain, one of the 3 great adventure destinations, Yichun unexpectedly arrived at this Minor Polsky. He had not returned to the barbaric wilderness continent or seen Jiangyao in a very long time. Yichun was deeply concerned about both Jiangyao and his parents and naturally did not wish to make another detour to the Divine Kingdom in the East Province. He had no idea how long it would be before he could return to the barbaric wilderness continent. As for the first divine city in the East Province, Yichun believed that as long as he worked hard, even if he did not accept the invitation from Divine Venerable Hong Zhu this time, he would eventually be able to visit it. Yichun declined Divine Venerable Hong Zhu's invitation. Upon hearing Yichun's words, everyone couldn't believe it. Feng Luo, standing beside Yichun, couldn't help but nudge him with his elbow. Brother Yichun, the first divine city in the East Province of the Divine Kingdom. That's the provincial capital of the East Province. It's a place countless god kings in the Divine Kingdom long to visit, and you would even meet the East Territory King there. You're really not going. The little Lolita princess and Divine Venerable Hong Zhu also never expected Yichun to refuse. Maybe I'll have the chance to go later. I've been out for a long time, and I'm starting to miss home. Yichun smiled and said in response to Feng Luo's words. Seeing that Yichun was not tempted by fame and gain, Divine Venerable Hong Zhu's eyes sparkled even more. She smiled and said to Yichun, "All right, since you plan to go straight home after your cultivation in Minor Polsky is completed, I won't stop you. The first divine city in the East Province of the Divine Kingdom, well, I believe you will make it there one day." Once Yichun's results were recorded, the only one remaining whose results had yet to be documented was the little provincial princess. As she sent her spirit light child flying towards the extreme heaven spirit list, the little provincial princess said to Yichun, "I had hoped to rank first this time, but it seems I won't be able to. However, Brother Yichun, I will surpass you in the future." In the end, the little provincial princess hunted a total of 1,344 true dragons, ranking second just behind Yichun. When everyone's results were finalized, the extreme heaven spirit list fluttering high in the sky, all eyes followed the list from top to bottom, looking at the rankings displayed. First place, Yichun. Second place, little provincial princess Feng Luo. Third place, Tian Li. Fourth place, Hu Lin. As all the scores became visible, God King Wuzan announced to everyone, "Those with assessment scores below 100 are eliminated and will be transported back to their original realms. Those with assessment scores of 100 and above will enter the second cultivation site, the True Qi cultivation site, Chenya platform, to begin True Qi cultivation." A month had passed since Yichun began cultivating in the first site of Minor Polsky, and after 7 days of assessment trials, he had successfully secured the opportunity to enter the second site for cultivation. Unbeknownst to Yichun, a great disaster was quietly brewing in the barbaric wilderness continent. Barbaric wilderness continent, Sea of Chaos. In the very same waters where 2 heaven saints from the 10 great demon sects of West Wilderness had been slain, endless sea waves shot up into the sky, and a figure with disheveled hair burst forth from the deepest depths of the seabed, instantly shooting into the void. Finally, the injuries I sustained coming to the lower realm have fully recovered. Now, it's time to see what that earth-shattering secret is, the one hidden beneath the southern domain according to the memories of those 2 heaven saints I killed. The southern 13 kingdoms treasure nation? Is that the earth-shattering secret within this realm? Then let's go take a look. Boom! As soon as this disheveled figure finished speaking, they vanished in an instant. This speaker was none other than the Void True God from the Fei Ling tribe, one of the 2 ancient tribes who had originally attacked the Phoenix clan's small spirit realm and had descended to this realm specifically to search for hidden clansmen of the Phoenix clan. In the Sea of Chaos, they had slain the 2 heaven saints from the 10 great demon sects of West Wilderness with a giant hand that reached the heavens. This Void True God, speaking of treasure nation where that earth-shattering secret was hiding, was right next to Yi Chen's homeland, the Wind Nation. Chapter 500 Calamity spreads over 100,000 miles. True gods traverse voids even faster than heavenly saints manifesting through projections. Especially in these 33 continents of the lower realm without true god-level restrictions, true gods can instantly flash across thousands of miles. This void sky true god did not conceal his movements like True Phoenix and Mulan true god. Once his injuries fully healed in this lower realm, he had no concerns at all. In just a moment, this void sky true god from the flying spirit clan of the upper realm, with his hair flowing loose, flew to a place within the territory of Heavenly Treasure Kingdom in the Southern Territory, a location remembered by 2 heavenly saints of the 10 great demon sects in the Western Wilderness that hid an earth-shattering secret. It was a large city with a population of millions. Gazing at the bustling city, the void sky true god furrowed his brows. The earth-shattering secret is located beneath this city in the depths of the earth? To investigate that great secret, it seems the entirety of this city must be destroyed. Destroying a large city of millions would be as easy as flipping his hand for this void sky true god. However, what made him hesitate was another matter. Destroying the city is easy, but doing so will surely draw the attention of countless individuals. Such a commotion might even reach the ears of other void sky true gods in the upper realm. Once others take note of this place, the secret may be exposed. No, this secret is rumored to drive even void sky true gods mad, and one that even the elders of my clan must not reveal, lest the opportunity slips through my fingers. It seems I cannot be hasty and must plan carefully. This earth-shattering secret was not fully understood even by the founding ancestors of the 10 great demon sects in the Western Wilderness. It definitely involves a lot of time and effort to break the secret restrictions. I need to ensure no one notices this place, and at the same time, I would require time to break the restrictions of this earth-shattering secret. The void sky true god's divine eyes pierced through the void, watching the people coming and going in the large city with millions of inhabitants, contemplating his next move. Within this populous city were countless martial artists, with the highest realm being only at the Dan rotation level. They were utterly unaware that their entire city was under the gaze of a true god. Since the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness plan to attack the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory, their intent is to drive out the locals and exploit the chaos to unlock the great secret underground. Their approach can work for me too. Moreover, I could make the battle even more intense, not just involving this city and Heavenly Treasure Kingdom, but even the whole of the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory, and possibly even involve the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness along with the chaotic sea area in a 3-way great war. If countless cities are destroyed during a great war, surely no one will take notice of one such city. Then, I could freely investigate the underground restrictions. Instantly, a comprehensive plan formed in the mind of the Void Sky True God. The next moment, the Void Sky True God vanished from above the large city with a population of millions. Half a day later, the 2 remaining heavenly saints and 1 half-step heavenly saint from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness suddenly disappeared from their seclusion. And unbeknownst to all disciples of the demon sects, these 3 were directly taken by the Void Sky True God into the boundless void during their cultivation. 2 of these individuals had previously clashed with Yi Chun. One was the Heaven Saint Moyen whom Yi Chun had defeated and whose soul fragmentation was killed, forcing him to flee back to the demon sects of the Western Wilderness. After retaking a body, he could only be considered a half-step heavenly saint. The other was Elder Kugu, the strongest heavenly saint of the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness, who had encountered Yi Chun in the past. It was Heavenly Saint Long Xian of the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory who had rescued Yi Chun from Elder Kugu back then. The only one who had not crossed paths with Yi Chun was a demon sect heavenly saint named Xuansong. These 3 heavenly saints were terrified beyond belief when they were suddenly taken from their cultivation into the infinite void and then saw the Void Sky True God before them. All 3, who had been to the minor spirit realm, sensed the aura of a 5th calamity true god from this Void Sky True God. They had been formidable in their day, but they were only at the early stages of Heavenly Saint realm. Now, even Yi Chun could defeat them, and facing a fifth calamity void sky true god naturally scared them out of their wits. "Senior, why have you brought us here?" Elder Kugu asked with a trembling voice, addressing the void sky true god. Heaven Saint Moyen and Heavenly Saint Xuanzong trembled fiercely alongside him. Since their two heavenly saints perished in the chaotic sea area and the true god Mulan of the Southern Territory broke through to the middle stage of Heavenly Saint, they also heard that the miraculous youth Yichun had become incredibly strong through cultivation in the heavenly sacred palace, reaching unbelievable levels of combat prowess. The three great saints of the Western Wilderness had long given up on confronting the Southern Territory, focusing solely on their rigorous training and avoiding trouble. They could not comprehend why a true god had seized them. Seeing the fear in the eyes of the three great saints of the Western Wilderness, the void sky true god smiled faintly. "Do not be afraid. I come from one of the 6 ancient clans of the minor spirit realm, the Flying Spirit Clan. You may call me Qi Shao True God. Truth be told, those 2 heavenly saints from the Western Wilderness were killed by me. Furthermore, I've learned about the great secret in the territory of the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory that you're aware of, and I'm quite interested in that secret. I've sought you out for just one thing, which is to proceed as you have previously planned. Have your 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness attack the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory. You'd best destroy countless cities there to cover my tracks, so that I can delve into the secret restrictions beneath the city in Heavenly Treasure Kingdom." Hearing the words of Qi Shao True God, the 3 heavenly saints from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness were utterly stunned. What? The 2 heavenly saints who died, did they perish at the hands of this true god? What caused even greater alarm was the fact that this true god actually knew the grand secret beneath the Southern Territory. This was their only hope to continue cultivating. They had hoped to grow stronger in order to probe into that secret, yet they had not anticipated that it would be known to this true god. If this true god were to unravel that secret, no matter how great the benefits, they would certainly not fall into their lap. Only now did they realize that they had been captured with the purpose of serving this true god, to instigate a major war with the Southern Territory, thus shielding the excavation of the secret for this true god. There was a time when they too had planned a major war, one that would engulf the 13 nations of the Southern Territory in flames of war, unnoticed by all, giving them a chance to seek out that grand secret. But now, bound to serve this true god without any benefit to themselves, it naturally filled them with immense frustration. However, they dared not defy the command of a true god. Elder Kugu, with a pained expression, said, "Qi Shao predecessor, we are certainly willing to wage a great battle against the 13 nations of the Southern Territory for you. However, the current strength of the Western Wilderness has fallen far behind that of the Southern Territory. We are no longer a match for its 13 nations. Unless you personally take action, only then we will have the confidence to destroy all the cities in the Southern Territory." Hearing Elder Kugu's words, Qi Shao True God sneered, "I do not need to act. What if I were to give you another helper? What about adding the chaotic sea area?" Add the chaotic sea area? The 3 heavenly saints of the Western Wilderness had not yet grasped the meaning behind Qi Shao True God's words, when, in the next moment, they were abruptly lifted by Qi Shao True God and flew toward the chaotic sea area. As Qi Shao True God's voice echoed in their minds, he said, "I will subjugate the entire chaotic sea area and have them join your Western Wilderness in the battle against the 13 nations of the Southern Territory, under the pretense of an alliance between the chaotic sea area and the Western Wilderness to dominate the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. Perhaps no one will know the true reason behind the war is the great secret beneath the ground. Hee, of course, to ensure you will obey my commands and my plan remains secret, I must leave something within your souls." As the words of Qi Shao True God fell, within the fluctuating void, 3 shrill screams were heard. After that, there was no further sound. The chaotic sea area, by nature, was a place where countless itinerant cultivators and innumerable forces resided in disorder. Here, the forces were incredibly complex. Here, the territories were massively chaotic. Here, there were tens of thousands of miles of dominions. And on this day, the most core force of the chaotic sea area, rumored to be as strong as the first sect of the Heavenly Sacred Palace among the three great dynasties of the Central Territory, the Sea God Palace suddenly issued an order. The Sea God Palace Master, an existence in the late stages of Heavenly Saint, abruptly decreed that the entire Sea God Palace would unite the chaotic sea area. After the news was released, the entire chaotic sea area erupted in an uproar. Countless forces accustomed to ruling their own domains were utterly unwilling to submit to the Sea God Palace. And when the deadline for submission set by the Sea God Palace arrived, the palace, displaying a level of bloodthirstiness like never before, deployed scores of mighty warriors, embarking on a campaign to level every force that had not submitted. Following that, a wave of great battles surged across the entire chaotic sea area. A disaster encompassing tens of thousands of miles throughout the chaotic sea area began to unfold completely. This great war even shocked countless mighty beings from the 13 nations of the Southern Territory located near the chaotic sea area when they heard the news. The war even later reached the ears of the powerful beings within the Heavenly Sacred Palace. But what no one knew was that this widespread and disastrous conflict spanning tens of thousands of miles was just the beginning. Once the entire chaotic sea area was unified, the war would even extend into the Western Wilderness and the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. What everyone was even more unaware of was that all of this was the grand scheme of a fifth tribulation true God. This true God, in order to unearth the grand secret, did not hesitate to plunge three vast territories into the throes of war. It was only in the chaos of war that others would remain oblivious to his actual plan. Yi Chun, who was far in the minor pole sky, could not possibly know that a great disaster was about to befall the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. He also had no clue that the subsequent development of this matter would reach a level beyond his wildest imagination, even to the extent that not even the Qishao true God, who had orchestrated the conflict among three major powers, could have anticipated. At this moment, Yi Chun, along with all the warriors who had successfully passed the first trial, were flying towards the second cultivation site of the minor pole sky, the Chenya platform.